didn't decide.
I didn't think you did.
I would have been back.
If you did, really, we'd let you do that.
I have no idea what we're streaming.
But somebody take it down.
Can you go to the page?
Well, in fact, you know what? Let's do this. No, not at all. I want to take that down now. So that you guys can, as soon as you said this, I read it. I appreciate that. I'm gonna cut that because I got to throw that one.
They can be solved so easy.
What's that?
Put the chairs over there.
Do you really want to be back there?
Yes. Is there
These are
a
the
reason
two
I'm
ladies.
not?
These are the two ladies that would
Is
have.
there a reason I can't have my chair over there?
No, there's not.
Thank you.
Then
That's
you.
where I want my chair.
Then here, give me.
Ladies and gentlemen, could I call you to order, please? We have our first candidate.
Same thing for you.
Thank you so much.
You okay with that?
Oh, she's okay.
Ladies, are we ready?
Ready.
Our 2 o'clock is here.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what? You haven't been on long enough for me to ignore your voice when I hear you say my name. You. Come on in. NPR's here. Where's the camera? Hi. For those on the internet, my name is Todd Hart, I'm Chief Policy Officer, and we're going to be beginning our candidates day with our first candidate, Mr. Reskus, running for Erie County Legislature. President Juan.
That's the lower west side, downtown, first floor, no more Broadway area, and the east side going to Bailey Avenue.
Right behind the camera's right where the screen is. This is the live stream, and it will go up on our YouTube page when we're done.
So, first and foremost, thank you for having me. I am absolutely honored to be speaking to you. I really am. Growing up with a speech impairment myself, public speaking, like generally like this, like small room, would absolutely terrify me. A few years ago, if I was called up to publicly speak, I would have ran out of the door in about 2 seconds. It absolutely bothered me to speak at all. That would be an issue. Through training, speech and therapy training, intensively for years. Not only did I learn to overcome my speech impediment, and also able me to enlist in CSD and serve a full tour of duty. So it did bring me great joy to come to give back to the community that helped me overcome my speech impediment, or help me to control better my speech impediment. I was sat in that chair as a child listening to the speaker himself, the candidate himself. Never in my lifetime I was one thinking that I am doing the presentation. Never did I have a stretch forward to try to fight back to the speech, the polygon people, the people in the office that really groomed me to be in this position that I am today. And I'm so eternally grateful to those who helped me overcome my personal audiology disability to even stand here and have the courage. And I even go door to door and talk to people to get signatures to get on the ballot, but to even have courage to go into the legislature where a mass talking was done. Again, years ago, I was about to So now that I've learned to control it, and now that I have the ability to give back to show the others who are in the same predicament that it is. Now, you're afraid, I get it, I was terrified. Even still, I'm a little bit nervous now. As you can hear, I still have trouble with certain vowels in certain verbs that I must call. And others in this area to give back on the county level. And try to influence laws and legislature on the state level and to the best of my ability, try to influence policy on the federal level too, in regards to how people like me, us, and everybody can live happier, fully healthier lives. Thank you.
overview of the accommodations for people with disabilities as part of that service.
Yeah, I think if we ran into a situation with a specific audit, we would pick that up. What you're talking about, however, I think is fodder for a complete audit of its own. In and of itself. Yes, sir.
By whom?
By the controller's office.
Oh, sure, okay, contact this agency to help you.
In addition to your staff, someone with disabilities who is skilled in the laws regarding reasonable accommodations in the ADA, that is their forte. Because in that way, you get my question. In that way, you get in front of the problem resident trying to figure it out at the end. For example, your office is going to have some role in writing the checks for what happens on Bailey Avenue with this new line and all of that. So there's going to be a lot of construction. And they're going to be maybe some damage to some changes in some of the storefronts and things. And all that's going to take money. So rather than respond to complaints that something reasonable accommodations haven't been considered, wouldn't it be easier to just have someone there to help you?
I think that would be fantastic. One of the problems that we have in staffing our office is that we're dealing with job specs that ask for, in many cases, 12 or 16 or 20 credits of accounting. And if what we find, one of the problems we have is that people with any training in accounting, given the salaries that we pay, do better in the private sector. So if you know of someone who has an accounting background and wants a job, please send them our way. I mean, seriously, that's not an empty offer. There are jobs there to be had. But that's a problem. We seek to diversify our workforce in the office. There are many advantages to that. The problem is you just can't take anybody legally because there are requirements that these jobs have X number of credit hours in accounting, and folks that do have that, they're in short supply and they tend to get jobs in the private sector. So we try to attract people. I'll tell you what we do in the public sector, at least in our office, is we try to make up for the lack of high salary with other things. We have, I think, one of the most liberal policies in our office in all of county government for work from home. That was a leftover of COVID, and while other departments were more calling their people back in, we pretty much stayed status quo, and we provided ample opportunities for people to work at home. Yes, sir.
Where can we find audits? Is it on the website?
They are on my website. If you go to erie.gov, you will get bounced to erie2.gov. It'll redirect you, but erie.gov, and then you can go to controller. We have a section with all of our audits there. You're welcome. Thank you for the question, sir. Fun fact about your next speaker, Betty Jean Grant, we share a birthday. I won't tell you who's older though. I won't tell you who's older. We share a birthday. The Ides of March, March 15th, just in case you're looking to buy either of us a present. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So our next speaker is Ms. Betty Jean Grant, Erie County Legislature, District 2. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, thank you for the nice invitation here and for the applause. That some of you have been. Okay, thank you, I'm sorry. That's okay. Some of you I know, some of you I don't, some of you I tend to know. My name is Betty Jean Grant, and I'm running for the second district legislator for Erie County. The position I held from 2010 to 2017, I retired, and I kind of thought I was ready for retirement. I'm not ready for retirement, and they were my constituent. They still call me. In fact, they think I'm still in office. I've been out for 7 years. So maybe some of the city hall, county hall, they still call me. I don't mind. Because I'm a people person. I love people. I love helping people, and I'm so happy to be here today to speak to you about some of the things that I've been on. I'm not sure the format, but I'm running on several issues. One is homelessness problem. It hurts my heart to go down to Ellicott Street and see in the summertime, see mothers with their children sleeping on the sidewalk. Go to 11 o'clock at night under the underpass and bridge with children. Everyone is entitled to have a home, a bed. Everyone's entitled to have food and good amount of beer. In this country we call the United States of America. Sometimes we fall for the crack based on our own inadequacy, but sometimes we don't know how to negotiate, and so we wind up not getting what we need. I will be that person, and I have been that person. I have a good track record, and I got information. Can we pass our literature too? Can we pass our literature?
Yes.
So I am the person who will call. One thing I find that I need to do for those who are differently able, here's another one. Make sure you got two, so you know all you know about me. Is make sure that the office, the outreach office is accessible. Right now, we have the second legislative district office in the Tricoke main building on the 6th floor. So you got to find a parking space, you got to get into the building, you got to walk up the stairs, because the first floor doesn't have an elevator unless they put one in. Then you go to the 6th floor. That is not accessible. Let us give you the opportunity to go and to get services. So I will do like I did before, was have the office in the community on the 1st floor, wheelchair and cane accessible, so you don't have to worry about parking, and hopefully you don't have to worry about going upstairs. One of the things that I plan on doing. Another is issue of transportation. For those who don't know me, I'm the founder of We're Women Warriors, and we're the one who had that SUV 2020, going up and down the street saying, stay 6 feet apart, wear your mask, wash your hands. We did it for 2 years to ensure that those who were in contact with COVID did not get the disease or suffer from it. And we were able to work with Erie County to make sure we had masks, hand sanitizer. I gave out over 10,000 masks with the help of Brett ABC Hardware to ensure that the east side of Buffalo, which was lacking in resources, be able to get those masks, get those gloves, get the hand sanitizer, and save their lives. And so I'm proud that we did that. And I also am proud of the fact that we did a lot of things unconventional. One time we were driving down the street, my daughter saw this bus shelter. And she saw a stove in the bus shelter. She saw nobody take the stove away from the bus shelter. And she said, well, why don't we get the snow from the bus shelter? And here I am over them, okay? And my daughter, she was 60. And we went to Ace Hardware and got 4 shovels, and we went there, we shoveled the bus shelter. On East Ferry Street, we shoveled them. And we was able to shovel East Ferry Street, Broadway, and I think we did Genesee Street. Because we knew that people who utilize the bus shelters need to have good access. City wasn't doing anything. The individual lived near them weren't doing anything, and hopefully that had been resolved. There is a concentrated effort to make sure the bus shelters are clean. I think NFTA made a commitment to do that. So I'm proud to say that I have been a community activist for 40 years. I've been a business person on East Ferry and Roselle since 1980. Some of you might have babies who came in, grandkids coming in now. So I'm still there, 45 years still there. So any questions? I don't know how long I have at one time.
You got another 5 minutes.
Okay. So Okay.
Okay, well, I was just curious.
Okay.
I was,
First.
you opened up talking about mothers and children under the bridge.
Yes,
What's your plan to
my plan
resolve it?
is to utilize those vacant apartments and public housing that we've already paid for. That is heated and has electricity, we're already paying for, to put those mother, children, and other individuals who are homeless there for a period of 3 months. In 3 months, give them time to establish their residence, an address. And by the address, they can qualify for Medicaid, food stamp, and the other entitlements out there. And so what I would do is make sure that any public housing doesn't matter waste space, because whether the apartment is vacant or not, it's still heated. So we got Stuyvesant Center, I think it's on Elmwood. I think it's a 50% vacancy rate.
Where's the money come from?
Pardon?
Where would the money come from
Money go by.
to pay for these housing?
No, they don't pay. They wouldn't have to pay because it's public housing. We have already paid for it. We taxpayers support public housing. Yeah, so they've been public housing. It's like, this room is empty, it's still been heated. You need a place to stay, you come here and stay. It doesn't matter where you here or not, the heat's still up.
Why are they vacant?
You know, I don't know why they have such a high rate of vacancy. Well, they're not, and there's a waiting list. There's a vacancy over here, there's a waiting list over here. You tell me how they can't come together. You tell me when somebody need a house, is on a waiting list and they got a vacancy apartment, vacant apartment that does not utilize it or not be given that. I know that people have been complaining about the rate of being accepted for housing. So I'm not sure whether their records or financial whatever, but I'm hoping that those people are homeless and some of them might have income that can be used towards that apartment if they have rental assistance.
Why not work on the problem that you just identified, that there are these vacant apartments
Right.
that aren't quote being funded, and there's a waiting list of which people are not being taken off of, if I understand you correctly. So why would you not focus on that to get that movement going?
Maybe because people on the waiting list have an apartment already. They're not in Elmwood, they're not sitting on the bridge on Elmwood Street. They're already in the apartment. About it. I'll go from the ones who manage the apartment.
Who oversees that? Is it local, state, or federal?
Well, there's a municipal housing authority, so the city oversees it. It's a federal, most of those public housing, federal housing, but it's managed by City of Buffalo. Through a board of directors and a commission.
And you're running for what office?
With Erie County, that's
So there'd have to be communication between you, the county, and city.
yeah, I would like, there's a task force on homelessness that's run by, I think Separate Economic has one. I think City of Buffalo has another one, but I know Erie County has one, but they're not together, they're not coordinated.
But they're not talking.
They're not coming together, they're not planning, they're not collaborating. That's what I would do, a city county task force on housing. To ensure that if any vacant housing, whether it comes from a county, whether it comes from a county perspective or a city perspective, that they be utilized. Yes,
I know that you had said that the homelessness is
I think that name was next, you next.
me.
Well, you can have a third. Gee, you have to take your turn, who's going to be next, but.
Don't fight over it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned about like affordable housing.
Yes.
So there are landlords who are making the rent skyrocket. How are you going to make sure that they're affordable? Whereas like it's costing an arm and a leg to get a 2-bedroom apartment.
Right.
And the landlords are making sure it's skyrocket. And another thing too, is that when you pay the rent and there's a problem, they won't fix it until like a month later.
Right.
So that's another issue. I was living in an apartment where my landlord would not fix anything, and my housing program had to get them off the list. But how are you gonna fix that problem where like landlords will take the money but won't fix nothing?
It's gonna take an effort between the state, city, county, not to go to really help them with some kind of rent control. That like New York City has, the market generated with how much people pay for an apartment. So if you had an apartment and you can pay a certain price, someone's gonna come in, they're gonna outbid you or overbid you. And so a lot of times people get the money and they get the apartment. it's gonna take some kind of law from Albany to say that there's a guideline between what you can charge, you can go their limits. And also you have to have a good reason for rejecting a person who apply when there's two people with the same amount of money. So it's gonna take a collaborative effort between your state, city, and county.
So here's another thing too. There are landlords who are doing the credit check. When there's people who do not have a credit check. I don't have credit. And it's even hard for me to get an apartment because all they want is a minimum of like a 600 credit. And they would do a background check. That shouldn't matter. If the person needs to live there, how are you gonna manage that as well? Like how are you gonna manage like landlord stopping doing the credit check?
That's the audits of company legislation. We have federal legislation cannot do, those county legislators generally think about health and wellness. We issue like Medicaid, food stamp, tax, those issues. For housing, it just is a state issue. But it's gonna take intervention from your assembly person and your state senators working in collaboration with the city. Because the city passes out the landlord, high license laws, and they have a law where you landlord you pay for a vacant apartment. So that can be managed, but it's gonna take collaboration between them to do that. And because those houses are different from public housing, they landlord have more freedom to charge and be more discriminating than people who manage public housing. So like I said, it's gonna take collaboration. It's gonna take you guys to form units. It's gonna take you guys to form organizations to work together, bring issues across. Yes, Robert.
How are you doing, David?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm good. Oh, yeah, well, we know each other. We run into each other in different places in advocacy and terms. And she's there, she wasn't called, she just goes to she. So it's a pleasure to see you. And I'm saddened that you feel a need to leave retirement, come back to service.
Don't be sad, you know, I was sitting there.
You never stop working. You never stop working.
Absolutely.
But there's the current legislative, and you're in my district actually, because I'm in legislative district too, right on the end, in Roslyn.
Right.
But I've never really seen something, Taisha.
Well, you know, here, I don't talk about anybody else, but my race, I don't talk about any other candidate, but my race, because she's not here to hear, but she's not here to defend or to state. So I just want to focus on me and what I'm gonna do for my constituents, including you when I'm elected.
Glad you right.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure, and I just look forward to being here. Let's make get things done, make things happen and get it done. Thank you.
Sorry, what's
Recording in progress.
To the audio on your comments, so for a while. But yeah, so we raced through a situation.
You have two more chairs in there, if anyone wants to sit down.
If you, because the teacher wants to. Because you're animated. This person. And it's men, they can talk to this, and then you step into the second. We're gonna find out.
Else need information from Betty Jean Bland.
This is by the same person, I call Claire at this, whatever, she said, you guys were sort of.
So our next is Christine Zarnick for Erie County Controller.
Thank you. I'm Christine Zarnik. I'm a candidate for Erie County Comptroller. I am an accountant. It has been my profession more than 30 years. I've had my own practice for 25 years. So preparing budgets, analyzing financial statements, and finding ways to run businesses more efficiently is what I've done my entire career. So those are the skills and experience that I want to take to the comptroller's office. And within the comptroller's office, the comptroller prepares financial statements, forms audits, but also a really critical function of that office is to look very critically at where tax dollars are being spent. And that's really where I want to focus my energies. The way I see it right now is far too much money goes into administration and not enough is going into services. And I know this community expansion of paratransit has been something you have been fighting for years. And since the NFTA is a recipient of county funds, that's one thing I would focus on, is to find where those dollars don't need to be spent and get them put where they do need to be spent. So that's my pitch. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
As a controller, you're reporting on conditions, right? You're identifying problems or what, but what empowers you, or what powers does the controller have? That, okay, you see something and, okay, so the NFTA spends too much money on their administrative assistants. What can you really do?
The role of the comptroller would be advisory. So as I think you're alluding to, comptrollers cannot veto anything that the legislature approves, cannot override anything. And I think that's why it's really important to have good relationships, good nonpartisan or bipartisan relationships. And, you know, that's why coming from not being a professional politician, being a professional accountant, I feel I can put the politics aside and really take my skills and use them to advise the legislature.
But other than being an accountant, what tools are in your toolbox to demonstrate the error of the said department, said agency's ways? I mean, what can you do to affect that change?
Yeah,
Other than, okay, so you found some money. What about it?
Yeah, you have to educate the legislature because they're the ones with the authority to either approve spending or to approve reallocation of spending. So my job is to find it and then to educate the legislature so that they can make better decisions when they're meeting.
How would you educate them that's different than today?
I think with my background, when I can show them that historically things are different, or taking a look at how other municipalities or other counties are handling the same thing, and if we're kind of not in line with the standard, I think it's a matter of quantifying and then showing them how it is.
As far as the budget for this year going into next year, are there areas that you see already as, you identified aspects of those budgets that you think you could have found extra funding, and how would that be used? Like, what are your arguments against the current comptroller as far as why you think the next budget could have been?
Yeah, the next year's budget was actually just released this morning, so I haven't seen it yet. But looking at the past few years' budget, what I have seen is very large growth in administration, not just NFTA, because NFTA gets a lump sum of dollars. When I'm talking about excess in administration, I'm talking about across Erie County government, because we have not seen large growth in the folks that are handling infrastructure or in the sheriff's department. In fact, they're always looking for new recruits. But administration has grown year after year after year. Overall, Erie County spending has grown 40% in just the past 4 years. And I don't see that 40% going where it needs to go, but I do see big growth in administration.
I guess a follow-up would be, how do you discern what administration costs are necessary to accomplish what needs to be done? Where, you know, there's certain things happening that are reducing workforces across the board on a federal level. So how do you balance that out? And when that's happening, how can you say we should eliminate or within our administration?
Yeah, I would just take a look historically, you know, positions that have been added in just the past 4 years that didn't exist 4 years ago. Our population has not grown 40%, certainly not even close. So it's pretty easy to see which jobs are really patronage jobs and not jobs that are contributing to serving the citizens.
Are you able to actually share that information?
Sure.
So why don't you make that public?
I have been, as I've been out campaigning, and, you know, certainly once I'm in office, hopefully I'll be there. You know, that's something I'll share.
As a past administrator, you know, salaries increases, rent increases, cost of stuff increases. And you know what? Even if services increase, there's also the increase of paperwork that comes from the state and feds and wherever the revenues are coming from. I mean, for us, the people, it would be helpful to say, you know what? This department, this is doing this, or this is happening here, because to say to me that administrative activity is growing at a rate that I believe is not commensurate with the increase of service and programs.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, absolutely. And, you know, once I'm in office, that's one of the first things I plan to do is really quantify and go department by department and see what has been added and what has changed and determine what's necessary.
You want to be elected, so if you want my vote, I'm not hearing a specific issue from you. I'm just saying, I'm hearing administrative costs or increases. Well, so is everything else.
Right.
My social security went, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what's that mean?
Right, well, the spending in Erie County, you know, increase in 40% in just over a few years, far outpaces inflation or any other metric of cost increase.
But what's that administrative rate associated to? Current structure, which hasn't changed?
By current structure, do you mean
So
like
the current
number?
administration in play, did they hire more people to
Yes.
do what? Or is this money that's going to support the current administrative
No,
workforce?
these are additional positions that have been added.
I have a
Yes.
question. You mentioned NFTA a few times as funding for NFTA comes to your office. The office that you would on. I've noticed the thing about it, you have the ability to dig down into some of the, I'll call them inequities in the way some of the routes are set up. For example, there are routes that go from the suburbs into the city in the morning and then return in the evening, which gives people in the suburbs access to jobs and employment opportunities in the city. So they can come here in the morning and then go back home on buses. The inverse is not true. So these same routes, they only work one way. So there are people in the city who want access to jobs out there, and opportunity is not there. So do you have the ability to look at that as an issue of this?
Yeah, it would not be a function of the comptroller's office. So the comptroller would just look at the total amount of money that's allocated to NFTA. So NFTA would set their own policy, but you know, certainly being aware that that's a problem. You know, once the relationships are established, I'd be happy to advocate for that.
So do you have an advisory role in that? Because if you find yourself funding something that you believe on its face is just not right, is there something wrong with this?
Yeah, certainly, right. I could put out a statement or make the advisory memo on that, but I couldn't change it.
That sense, the comptroller has control over selecting what things are audited, correct? So would you have the ability then to audit the NFTA, see how their funding is used and do we get that regularly? Do we know how much is spent? Is there a surplus each year? Is there a way to identify this is what NFTA spends their money on? There's easily surpluses that can be directed out that way, or that, I'd be interested in that. Is that done regularly? And if it's not, is that something that?
Yeah, audits are, done periodically, but as determined by the comptroller. So I don't know when the last NFTA audit was. I know that the NFTA is funding from the county is primarily through mortgage taxes. So that can fluctuate and it's kind of hard to predict. But I'd certainly be happy to take a look and see if historically over the past few years has that funding resulted in a surplus or in a deficit. But right now I don't know.
What's the percentage of county money that does go to the NFTA?
I don't know.
Do we have time for one more question?
Okay.
Okay, yes, with the federal changes on the forefront with benefit programs like SNAP and Medicaid, how are you going to work with the county legislator to ensure that those programs are safeguarded at the county level?
Yeah, we'll have to take a look at what the changes may be and what's coming from the federal government, and then make sure that the folks who need to receive those benefits do continue to receive.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is Mr. Dan Gagliardo, the Amherst, running for Amherst Town Supervisor. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So I'm going to read off this and then I look forward to having some questions. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan Gagliardo, and I want to begin by thanking Western New York Independent Living for the opportunity to be here today. You may or may not know that I previously owned Devolio Culinary in Buffalo, a culinary school designed for students with diverse abilities to earn culinary certificates. Because of that experience, I understand firsthand the vital role your organization plays in empowering, supporting, and amplifying the voices of people with disabilities in our community. That's exactly the kind of inclusive leadership I believe in. I'm running for Amherst Town Supervisor because I believe local government should work for everyone, not just those who can easily access buildings, navigate public meetings, or find reliable transportation. Everyone means everyone, regardless of ability. At times, accessibility and inclusion have been afterthoughts. Sidewalks without curb cuts, housing that isn't adaptable, policies made about people with disabilities, but rarely with your voices at the table. That's not right, and I want to help change that. If I'm elected town supervisor, I commit to three key things. Accessible infrastructure. We need to audit and improve our public spaces to meet and exceed ADA standards. That means sidewalks, parks, and town buildings should be accessible, and we will work with advocates and our town's ADA coordinators to make sure we're not missing the mark. Recent issues such as the functionality of the telephones on the bike path and speaker system at town hall meetings and improving handicap facilities at parks will be an important part of my town agenda. Number two, inclusive policy making. Nothing without you should be done. I will ensure that the Amherst Committee on Disabilities is heard and brings lived experience directly into the decision-making process. Number three, equity in services and communication. Access to information is a right, not a luxury. And beyond that, physical and digital, this is about culture, about treating every resident with dignity and respect. Because accessibility isn't just about ramps, it's about rights, and it's about your voice. This community is strong, resilient, and full of insight. You don't need someone to speak for you. You need someone who will listen, partner, and act. That's the kind of leader I am and want to be. Thank you again for the work you do and for allowing me to be part of today. I would be honored to earn your trust, your ideas, and your vote. Let's build our town where everyone has a seat at the table. Thank you. That's good. Any questions? Any questions? I want to say something. Before you ask that question, I want to say something. I just had a 20-minute conversation with Todd. That man will be on my team at town hall before anything is done, just to get his perspective, because that's one of the smartest people I've ever met. So I want to tell you, he'll be on my transition team to be part of my administration. Yes.
I'm from Cheapwater, so I can't afford this, but I'm curious.
That's okay. I still like you.
A big part of the conversation today is the questions and understanding how things work between budgets, controllers, supervisor, these things that people are proposing and speaking about, like you just said, how does your role interact with choosing how those things that you want us to be at? Is it pre-budgeted, and how much control do you have with the money going into Amherst? You get to say and how it's spent as far as accessibility that you want to see happen. What's your
In the last few days, I've learned a few things about the NFTA. I learned that only Niagara and Erie County give them money. So if we're giving them the money, we should be at the table talking to them and telling them exactly what their needs are. Now, in my opinion, if we're giving you money, you should listen to us. And what we have to do is we have to prove what it is that we need. So that means that we have to get educated people in here to tell us what exactly your needs are. You know, I would be remiss in telling you that I understand all of your needs, because I don't. But I can tell you, like I said, talking to Todd and understanding just a few things that we talked about, I would be a strong advocate to making sure that this transportation issue is taken care of. I'd also be a strong advocate of the fact that why is there not somebody at the table from where you are helping us to make these decisions? Listen.
Well, yeah, Amherst has a disability advisory committee.
They do.
And, you know, as far as public transportation for Amherst, it sucks. And I am an Amherst resident.
Okay.
But I do have a question.
But to your point about transportation, before I want to say that, because you just said that, because you just made that statement, we're remiss because we don't understand why it sucks.
I get it.
That's the point.
That's not my question.
I know.
My question is a little bit of a personal perspective. And that's the fact that I'm recently retired. And it's all good retired people do when we start cleaning out the house. And all of a sudden I find out I got paint, I got electronics, I got chemicals, I got stuff from 40 years ago, right? And what do I got to do? I got to go to the city of Tonawanda to drop this off. And I go to the website, and I don't know if this, I'm sure the supervisor has some input, and I realize it's the highway department. But I get the little voucher that I could possibly use 3 times a year for $50, and then I got to start paying $1.50. But I can't get the stuff to where it's got to go. I'm just wondering how come in Amherst, and can the supervisor impact on that to make something like that a little bit more amenable for those of us with disabilities that I can't even get a bus ride, let alone pack up maybe 200 pounds of trash, not trash, but you know, hazardous chemicals, old stuff that have been collected because I just couldn't get it. I mean, what's your perception on doing something in that area?
Okay, so you've got a bunch of questions there, but I'll try to answer all of them. Good. First of all, the highway department, I was just at another debate a few weeks ago. And somebody asked my opponent about the highway department, and my opponent said, you know, listen, that's an elected position. We really don't have much to do about that. we could just suggest. Well, I will tell you my position. My position is that we're giving the highway department money. They're gonna do it with them. Yeah. That's the first thing. Second of all, the problem that we have right now is being able to get information such as yours to the appropriate people to get it done. The only way we can change this is by making it easier for you to tell us exactly your story. If we are able to figure out what it is that you need, it will be my responsibility to make sure that we have some type of avenue that you get that request out, and we will do everything in our power to make sure that you get that. One of the things that I am really, really big on about this election, I'm a business person. I'm not a politician. And in my role, everything that I do, I have to solve these problems because I won't survive if I don't do that. So I've got to give you access to tell me what's wrong. I've got to be able to go to the people that we can do this within our government to get you, to help you do what you need to do. And then if this seems to be a persistent problem with other people besides yourself, then we have to build something so other people can get that as well as you do. The problem we have in the ambulance right now is there is no central location for information. You can't, it's too hard. It's just too hard. So to answer your question for me, is I would want to know about your issue. I would want to make it accessible so you could get that issue to me and to my team. I would then call up the highway department and I would figure out how to get what you need done. But then on a bigger scale, I've got to be able to figure out how I do that for others, not just you. And if that's the issue for it, then we build it into our budget. We build it into things that we need to do. Because in my opinion, the lack of information that we get, how are we supposed to know? How are we supposed to know anything that's going on? You could go on our website. Personally, one of my positions is I want to redo our website to make it simpler. I want to give people the ability to ask the questions and to get things done. Ask a question before we go to a town hall meeting so we can answer them by the time they get there. And we've got people that are they can't get things, they just can't get their word out. And I just think that we need to do something about that. We have the ability and we have the capabilities to do exactly what you're asking, but I got to know about it first so I can do it for you. Any more questions? I want to thank you. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you. Thank you for just inviting me. I wish you the best and God bless all. Okay? Yeah, I know. Listen. So, I was there. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Like, you should just be moderating. Like, all your questions.
I read this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I can. How you been?
I know. But yes, married. And John, oh my God. Oh, great.
Sounds nice, but also I think
Yes.
that's
Sweet.
You guys be great.
Yeah.
Well, can you see that?
Yeah. First, the grocery stores, especially in the east side of Buffalo, there's only one grocery store. Tops. Oh, yeah, 100% of food. Yeah. Well, yeah, but the thing is, no one's doing anything about it. No, that's not so possible. Like, you gotta keep it, keep it. It's like there's like some crazy people that have time with certain politicians that yeah. I would like for Lisa, Betty was a politician for years. Right? Betty was a politician for years.
Yes, it's actually seven. We don't have that area.
Yeah.
People. There's some information.
Yeah, it has like a chance.
Right, I mean.
Yeah.
There's a line break in between.
Oh. I wanna look it up for a minute.
Yeah.
This is one thing. We try to leave it this year, but at the same time, I'm not.
Oh. That's in, oh, that's.
So they can, they could think of yours. No, that's. Since I got to go out. I love that. Before the trip, you must be. It's awesome. But.
Gotcha.
I thought that.
Our next. We have Ms. Christina Coyle Lenz, who's running for Erie County Legislature District. Welcome. Thank you very much. District 5.
Who's that?
So it's District 5. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you to everyone for being here. And especially thank you to Western New York Independent Living for orchestrating this opportunity for us to come in and to meet all of you. So District 5, because someone asked, that actually begins right, not up too far from here, right up the road. And it's in the area near where Main and Bailey come together. So it's at corner of Amherst across from UB. And then it continues down Main Street roughly to Hopkins. It goes over to Cheektowaga, and then it cuts up north. It goes all the way to Willow Ridge. So it's a rather unusually shaped district. And it encompasses a great deal of diversity within that district. So what I will do is I will give you a little brief introduction to myself. And one of the things that Todd was saying is that I should say, hey, I am one of you. I've experienced a situation here with my right hand that is my dominant hand, and I have a loss of use that I am working on with this, and I wear this to support myself in my day-to-day work. I'm going to give you a little bit of my background so that you understand who I am as a person. I worked in different jobs over roughly a span of 15 to 20 years. I worked selling office supply contracts. I sold Yellow Pages advertising, if anyone remembers when there was the phone book. And I also worked in medical sales. I worked in medical and surgical sales. And during those years, I earned an MBA going to school part-time. I share that with you because I feel that there's a strong, I feel a strong need to learn as much as I can and do as much as I can to be a good contributor to our community. At that time, when I transitioned out of that sales world, I started doing some consulting work. I had an aging mom who needed daughterly support, and I was it. And so I was able to be a fully present daughter and work my schedule around what my mother's needs were in her later life. And as I was chatting with Todd, I realized that my mother's lack, the diminishment that she experienced in life is what many people experience at different stages in their lives. And I did all of the things I needed to accommodate her with us in our home and all of the things that we did, you know, including, you know, a transport chair, wheelchair, you know, when it was needed, you know, assistive devices, walkers, even, you know, just things for her to be able to pick items off the floor. And I lived helping her through those years. Also during those years, I went to school again and I earned a degree in creative studies. And when I say that I earned a degree in creative studies, why that's important is what I bring to you is this background in business and understanding of business. So as a legislator, I will be able to help make decisions that will support the community of individuals that Western New York Independent Living serves. And with the creativity background, what that does is that gives me the skill set and the knowledge base
to work with people across differences in such a way that we can collaborate and come up with creative and innovative ideas to meet needs. Because sometimes that's what's needed, is it might not be this or this, it might be something where we're blending and we're coming up with something new that could be a synergy idea. Now, during those years, while I was working as a consultant and caring for my mom right up until the end of her life, I was teaching part-time. And I teach at a wonderful institution, and I was actually asked if I would consider from that experience to become the program director, which I presently am. So I presently run a small master's program in leadership and innovation. And this program has students that range in age from their 20s to their 60s.
Wow.
And that's absolutely wonderful, because you know what? That's the workforce. That's the world that we live in. We live in, a multi-generational, multi-skilled, multi-capacity world. And I think it's really important to have that experience. So I bring to this pursuit of the Erie County Legislature seat, I bring a background in leading, because when I was working as a consultant, that's what I was doing. I was working with social impact organizations like Western New York Independent Living, helping them solve thorny problems. And when I say working to help them solve thorny problems, sometimes organizations will bring in an outsider, and I was that outsider. So when I was able to go into the classroom, I was still continuing to do some of this work then in our community. And what I do now is I am a person who teaches. I'm a person who runs the program. I'm a person who advocates for students. And with that, I can share with you very near and dear to my heart. I have watched a student come into our program with a different skill set. And her mission upon entering the program was to educate people about what it means to be neurodivergent. And I asked her, what is it that you want to accomplish? She wanted to learn how to work on teams. She wanted to develop self-confidence. She wanted to be able to excel in the career of which she was chosen. And I'm so happy and proud of her, because she is now stepping into this space where she will be making a leap. She'll be graduating very soon. So with a lot of support and a lot of love around her, she will be making this leap to her next step. Now, with all of that as my background, I want to acknowledge what Western New York Independent Living is all about. And I want to do this in the most respectful way, because what I understand about your peer leadership model, I think that's absolutely extraordinary. When you think about peers leading peers, it's with that firsthand awareness and that firsthand knowledge of what it means to be in the circumstance that one might find themselves, or to even be working and collaborating with somebody where it might not be the exact same circumstance, but it's that empathy, it's that awareness, and it's that support. And I think that support is desperately needed. Inclusivity is one of the values that certainly is hugely present here at Western New York Independent Living. And when I think about inclusivity, I think of inclusive leadership. I think about all of the things that we can do to be inclusive. And what that really means to me is that we welcome all people of uniqueness and difference. We're all at the table together. And absolutely that togetherness is essential. I feel very strongly about that, because it's our uniqueness and our difference that makes us a strong community. In my role now, I advocate, and I advocate fiercely. I probably learned the most about advocacy when I was helping my mom through her aging years. She made it to, a ripe age in her 90s. She lived a blessed life. I learned a lot about advocacy, and sometimes that means you have to stand up with love, and you have to be kind, be respectful, and be firm. So I did learn that about advocacy. What I do now in my job is I advocate for students, because there's times that students will confide in me something that they might be dealing with in their life, and it's up to me to help advocate with them, for them to self-advocate for what they need. And sometimes I get involved in helping connect them with the right department. But at the grassroots of this, I think that when we teach people how to how to be empowered and how to feel empowered, I think we've done a good job with that. There are a couple of things that I want to acknowledge about the district that I'm running. Amherst in particular, the town of Amherst has a citizens group, and it's the Amherst Committee on Disabilities. It's an active group. They meet, they have helped us address some topics of access. One in particular is the town board meetings in the town of Amherst. They've had a problem with their sound system. And this Committee on Disabilities has helped make the audio in the meetings more effective for those that struggle to hear. And I'm also aware that, Erie County Office for People with Disabilities is a resource to the community. What I could share with you that I would find is my priorities from the research that I've done and from the conversations that I have and from my personal experience is that I think there's some issues with websites, with accessibility, and I think everybody deserves access to information. And so I believe that we have to ensure that all websites meet accessibility criteria for individuals who may need the access to meet their interests. There are also issues where sometimes events and public buildings may not have adequate accessibility. I would advocate for accessibility at events and also in public buildings. There's been some question, and I've been reading a little bit about this and hearing too, about safe housing that accommodates unique needs. I think everybody deserves to have a safe home, and they deserve to have a home that has whatever it is they need for their accessibility. I mean, it could be any one of a range of things. And also the service is so that in the case of a person who has an acquired accessibility, because it happens at any point in life, they want to stay in their home. And if it means, creating something inside of the home for that accessibility feature for them to stay, that is better for the family, it's better for the individual, and it's actually better for our community. I am aware that, the transportation services can be an issue. Transportation, actually, Todd briefed me a little bit. And so the transportation is a huge issue because people want to be able to contribute to the community. They want to be able to get to work. And so we have to have access to transportation for people in our community who have, differing needs. And with that, I would advocate to ensure that these needs would be met to individuals in the community of all abilities. And I think the notion of work, I would just say for anyone that wants to work, I think that there's a passion and there's something in their heart that they want to be part of a community, they want to be part of an organization, and that can bring a great deal of personal fulfillment. As I mentioned, I'm watching the student with her excitement as she is bursting into her post-academic world and looking at how she is going to step into a role that is perfectly made for her. And so with that, I think we have to work together to create the best world that we can for all of us, because we're all here, we're all present, we're all part of our Western New York community, and I think it's incumbent upon all of us to build on this. With that, anyone has any
I'd like
questions?
to know why you want to be a legislator.
Why do I want to be
Why
a
do
legislator?
you want it? I mean, you got a pretty fulfilling life and all that other stuff. Todd gave you all that information to say anyway, so that's great. But
He actually
I want to
didn't.
know why you want to be what made it for you to stand up and say, I'm going to go through all this crap and try to get this job.
I like the way you cut right through that. Okay, so if you had asked me a year ago if I would have been standing here, I can't tell you that I would have said yes, okay? So why do I want to be a legislator? A year ago right now, by the way, I was helping my husband recover from a pretty major surgery. He had a descending aorta and valve replaced. And so also realizing that was, an experience, a wild experience in that. I've always been a good citizen in terms of my, staying attuned to issues, read the paper, when there was a paper that was published every day and which was in the paper. This paper is still published 6 days a week, but the thing is, this news is now fragmented. So I've always been one to consume news from whatever medium I needed to. And I had personal experiences in my life out in the town of Amherst where I personally felt like our government wasn't always listening to us. And when you can imagine knowing that you know how to do something and you're watching people make their case in a space where they're not being heard, individuals make their case, they ask their questions, they do their due diligence, they showed up to vote. And so why I'm doing this is I'm committed to being a leader that listens. And I promise accessibility to me, to each and every one of you. So why am I here? I'm here because it's my time to serve. And when I say serve, I mean that. It is to serve the people. To serve the people of District 5 in Erie County. And I think that's really important. I beg your pardon, sir?
Who's your opponent?
Who's my opponent? It's current legislator Jeannie Vine.
Oh.
Sir, I see a hand in the back.
I'm looking at a bus schedule,
Yes,
bus number 46.
okay,
It comes into the city from transit in the morning.
okay,
A couple of times it comes in the morning. Then in the evening, it returns from downtown Buffalo to transit. There's no bus that comes from downtown Buffalo out to transit in the morning and returns from transit in the evening. So this is a pattern that I'm seeing around Buffalo with all of the burbs. There are these buses that leave from the suburbs to bring people into the city, employment,
yes,
jobs. yeah.
absolutely, yes.
But the opportunities for employment in the areas where the buses are coming from are not open to people in the city who might require the same thing. Now we're all paying county taxes. And I'm informed that county taxes are supporting much of NFTA.
Yes,
This gets approved by the legislature,
yes.
their budget. So would you commit to looking into these kinds of issues? Because these groups should be both ways. I mean, I help people get jobs. I've run into a situation where a person had a really great opportunity out in the burbs. He could have gotten enrolled in a program, and when he got done with his program in auto mechanics, he would have been guaranteed a job out on transit, working for a dealership, paid internship, everything came along with it. Big problem, he couldn't get out there because the only people that were being serviced, the jobs, I guess, for the people who already live out there. People in the city can't get there. So what do you think about this? It just seems like it's just patently unfair.
I would submit to us an examination of that for the purpose of making a change. And I can tell you that that was personal. It was my mother told me a story when she was in her 20s and she lived in Lockport and would take a bus to get from Lockport to the airport to work.
Oh, geez.
And to get home, she had to go from the airport to downtown Buffalo with a really long wait to get back to Lockport. And this was way, way, way many years ago. So I think that when you have a service line like the NFTA, they're providing services to the residents of our community, all of the residents. And what you just described is that they're not meeting the needs.
So you're making my point.
I am making a
You're
point.
making my point is that bus line went from Lockport to get her into the city,
But then
into another area.
Right.
But she had to wait to go back.
She couldn't
Even then, the inverse did not exist for a person like me who lives in the city. Suppose there's a job out on transit and I want to get that job and I live in the city. I've come through our programs here. I've gone through MHBC, I'm all ready to go to work.
Right.
My job coaches, they found me a job.
Right.
They said, okay, your job is out on transit. How do I get there? I can't.
This needs to be examined because what my mother did wasn't really safe because she went from the airport to the city, and this is a woman by herself with 1 to 2 hours before she could get the bus home. Right? So I am in alignment with you 100%. Eventually she was able to get there, but at what cost? At what cost to safety? What you're saying is that there's not even a route. And I would say to you, sir, that needs to be addressed beyond any question. And I'm surprised, actually, with all due respect, I'm surprised that it hasn't been, but it doesn't sound like maybe I'm listening and maybe
Well, maybe,
you didn't have a leader that listened. I promise you, I'm listening and that would be addressed. Yes, ma'am.
The NFTA does have advisory committee meetings the last Thursday of the month at 2:00. Some of this stuff can be addressed there. And it's open to the public.
Thank you.
advisory has no power.
Thank you. I was good. The advisory group has no power, you said, sir? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Okay.
They let you talk all you want.
Yeah.
I can do that at home.
I fully understand what you're saying, which is why I would commit to being a voice. You know, we have to start somewhere to make change. And this is a matter of advocating because we have to have buses run in both directions. There's a gentleman that I worked with who it would take him to get out of work at like 9:30 and wouldn't get home till 11:30. Now, he could walk home to Buffalo faster. He said he could walk like a long distance and grab a bus in the city. So it's to your point.
So this is not, my point is, it's not an oversight, this is a existing problem, and it's cross routes. So it's like somebody is like actually sat down and thought about this, and said, well, I'm gonna provide a way for people who live in the suburbs to get into the city to get to their jobs. But I'm not gonna provide a way for the people in the city to get out in the suburbs to get to jobs. Even while jobs are leaving the city, while all these new places of employment are being built out in areas where people in the city can't get to. But I'm paying for this, because I don't,
Absolutely.
I'm paying taxes.
You're a taxpayer. I have a question for you, sir. Is there, sometimes things are left, the status quo remains. Is this something that maybe they just haven't revisited? I'm asking you this question because I'm wondering if this is an old set of roots. That's just a fact-finding question on my part. Is this an old set of roots that hasn't been revisited and it needs to be?
They've been shutting down all the routes, 6 routes that go out to the suburbs and further for years.
Okay, so
There's been no effort to make that happen.
yeah, well,
So I mean, there's only like express buses and stuff to go get to the suburbs, and that takes like about an hour to get there. So like I had
Only
to,
2 a day.
and there's like 2 a day in the morning and then 2 at night.
There are 2 to come in, and then there's 2 going back out.
Yeah.
That's the problem. There's not like 2 going out, and we'll get you back in the evening.
Especially if people work on the weekends. Like what was if they have to get there on a weekend, there is no bus running.
right, 24/7 businesses,
Yes.
right? Yes, very much so. And when you just mentioned what you did, there's another level of accessibility to me, and it's also vehicle ownership. And if people, you know, there's a segment of the population that might not have the means to have a car. They may have the capacity to drive and they may not have the means to have a car. And that segment of the population deserves to be served.
One of the tragedies of this is that these places out in the burbs where the buses come from,
Yes, sir.
they have adjacent parking spaces for people that have vehicles. So that's another tragedy here, is that this is more for convenience of people who live in the suburbs, not out of necessity, out of convenience.
And this
Because they don't want to drive, but the people who live in the city may not have the resources to own a car to drive.
Right.
So that's adding, I mean, your point here, it adds insult to injuries.
It does, it certainly does.
Unless you work the night shift.
Unless you work the night shift, yeah. I think come back in the morning, keep that. I have to work.
Yeah.
Well, get there though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like people like me, I only have a permit and it's very hard to get a license without a job. So that's another thing, like, yes, I have a disability, I have a mental health disability, and it's hard for me to like even obtain a job sometimes. But making it easier for people who are on SSI, who are on some type of assistance to able to get their license so they can drive. So the cost of that as well, like, it's only like, yes, there's only $48 to pay for like a 5-hour license report. Why can't that be free? Because then everybody can, like, who wants to get their license, and that's their goal to get their license, whether they have a disability or not. Why should they even have to pay where they could just go to a school that is New York State certified to obtain a license, and then they only got to pay $10 to do the driving test? So how can that be more accessible for people like myself who wants to get their license without even have to worry about paying for the 5 hour pre-licensing course.
Absolutely. So you're addressing the cost of even just obtaining the license. Yes, thank you. Yes.
I just want to mention that inclusivity doesn't just stop at disability. Inclusivity also includes people that are minorities, that are in poverty. So it's great that you have this experience with people that have disabilities. But there's obviously a redlining issue that they don't want people in the city going into the suburbs to get a job. So what are you going to do different so that they're able to from the suburbs, so that they have a chance to be opportunity?
Exactly what you just said. I want to address what I said about inclusivity. I said it's all differences. And to me, all differences is everything. It's different abilities. It's different. It could be any dimension of who we are. And so to me, what you just said about redlining, I understand what you're asking. But when I think of inclusivity, that we are all one, all of us. So I just want to be really clear on that it's not just abilities and different abilities, okay? And as far as what would I do differently to try to prevent this redlining, I think it comes right back to the conversation I was having with the gentleman in the back. And that really pertains to you, sir. I'm sorry that.
That's okay.
I'm referring to you as the gentleman in the back. Sorry about that.
No, that's, you said it right. I'm a gentleman in back.
First thing, you gentlemen.
All right, second. Everyone doesn't have to sign on to that.
You might have a name tag on, but from where I am, I can't see it.
My name is Rafi.
Rafiq, thank you, sir.
No,
Rafiq.
Rafi, R-E-F-I-Q.
Rafiq, thank you, sir. So Rafiq, as Rafiq and I were discussing, this needs to be examined. You know, if the system is here to serve people, this is one county. This is one district. We've got, you know, when you mentioned one of the things that we know is that there is the city surrounded by all of the suburbs, except for the side that is on Lake Erie. Okay, so we have all of these suburban areas, but what we have to do is we have to operate like a system, because Erie County is a system, in my opinion. You know, it is a system, but then there are the independent governments within the system. NFTA is connected and funded by the county. So that to me means that NFTA should be operating to serve the system that funds them. And what does that mean? That means that you build the services so that people's needs are met. And I would guess, Rafi, that if we were to have a conversation with employers who can't get people, they can't hire people, they can't find people for them, I think they would be on the side of let's get this fixed, because employers are struggling to find employees. I mean, we've seen that happen, and I think I see some heads nodding. You know, so we know that that's an issue. And there's people willing to work. So it's a matter of putting the people that would like to work with the places that have the jobs for them.
I'm going to leave you my card. Feel free to call me.
I will, sir. Absolutely. I definitely will. Yes.
So for the NFTA, so like they have a station out in Niagara Falls. They have their own like buses. Why are you able to like talk to them, say, hey, we need a station down in the suburbs, like in the south, so it can be accessible for people who are reliable. They are reliable to the public transit, and they have to take an Uber to even get to the bus stop, or like a cab or something to even get to the city, so they can get on the bus to where they need to go. So I don't know if you're able to like talk to them and just say, hey, we need this done in the suburbs, like in the south.
I think I think, like I said, my commitment is to listen. And so you're giving me a lot of background on the access in and out, and how we need to open up these pathways. Rafiq wants to put people to work that are ready to go to work, and you want this expanded. As to the bus locations for these bricks and mortar, like a brick and mortar station, it's a system. Again, so there's the big system down in the city, and I remember back, to tell you guys how old I am, I remember when it was a Greyhound station, like way back when, and I think the one in Niagara Falls might have also been Greyhound before the authority took over. And what I would say to you is it would be my commitment to do a system-wide examination of this and to advocate for this. It absolutely must happen. You know, at a time when we need people in workplaces, there are unmet needs in employers. And we have people who want to work. It seems like not that hard of a problem to solve. However, I don't want to diminish the fact that I think you guys have been trying to solve this for a while. Seriously, I don't want to diminish that, but I can tell you, I am a fierce advocate, and you can count on that.
Good. So I mean, there's been buses that had been discontinued because they weren't used due to the pandemic. That was like one of the things that kind of made me upset because it's like, yes, the pandemic had happened. But the thing is, those are reliable buses, like the 36 or the 29.
Yeah.
So those were reliable for people, especially like the 29. It goes down Wohlers. People who live on Wohlers have to like walk to get to the 13. That's like maybe 5-minute walk, but some people can't walk to that far. So like having a system where it's like, yes, if the data shows that this is not usable, but this can be used somewhere that is out of reach. So that's where it's like, why discontinue these routes where they can just be moved to like somewhere that needs more?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't know what you said. I'm sorry, sir, I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, it's a comment regarding the people that are running for control. I just said that they need the money for the 40% administrative costs.
Thank you very much. One more question. Okay, last question.
The lady over there had her hand up forever.
Oh, no, it's okay. My question was answered.
It was?
Yeah.
I'll talk to you afterwards.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't. see
Oh,
that.
yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Banners and everything. Oh, good, it's so.
Get any question in?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You know what,
Say Lawrence.
you might be one that Is it okay to talk? Thank you very much.
What kind of development center is this?
Sir, nobody has asked you to leave, please.
I am, Dr. Masters of Public Administration. What's your idea
We have a little break in our speakers, so I'm going to ask Lisa up to talk about our Independence Express and the services that they have available for voting.
What does that mean?
Hi, everybody. My name is Kathy Jalikia, BOL-ICC HIA. And I am the director of Independence Express, the transportation department here at Western New York Independent Living. And we have 7 vehicles on the road that are all wheelchair accessible to serve Erie, Niagara, Genesee, Orleans, and Wyoming counties.
Whoa.
Unfortunately, right now, we only have 2 drivers. However, we have 3 more coming in right now. So we're very happy and excited to be fully staffed again for the first time in almost a year.
Work for the NFPA.
Excuse me, sir?
Work for the NFPA.
So we
offer different kinds of transportation. We have, family support services, which is for people who are eligible for OPWDD services and live with a family member in Erie, Niagara, Genesee, or Orleans counties. That provides up to 6 free round trips free to the individual unless they have a self-directing budget. Yes. Then it has to come out of their self-directing budget. We also, with that program, can provide bus passes for people who are eligible. Same criteria, they have to be OPWDD eligible and live for that program, Erie or Niagara counties. And I just found out recently that there is bus service in Genesee County, so we may be expanding that. We'll check and see.
Yeah, but don't they have dial-up bus?
I'm not sure what they have. I just found out that there's actually bus service there. So I'm looking into that with our director in Batavia right now.
Okay.
Okay. Also for the OPWDD program, if people are not able to use the bus and they use paratransit instead, we can provide a Pell Pass for them per month.
Okay.
We also have fee for service transportation, which is at a fee of $20 each way plus 50 cents per mile traveled for a one-way trip. So a round trip, if you go 5 miles, it is $45. Now, to some people, that sounds like a lot, but if you go to, I heard it called this at our aging conference. If you go to retail transportation, which is like Aries or Buffalo Transportation or any of those, the fee is actually much higher. It's about $70 to get on their van.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's one way. So it is significantly less expensive comparatively. It's based on wheelchair transportation, so it's we have to charge everybody the same thing. That's why that price is a bit higher. We also will begin providing Medicaid transportation again soon. As soon as we have enough drivers and resources to bill Medicaid, we will be opening back up to provide Medicaid rides for people in Erie and Niagara counties at first, and then we will move into Genesee County also. Right now, we're working in conjunction with MHPC to help train drivers also, and help people get their CDL to get driving positions. They shadow our drivers so that they can learn how to be a driver. And when they come with us, they're going to learn IL philosophy. They're going to learn disability etiquette. They're going to learn to treat people with dignity and respect rather than what we hear many people on taking Medicaid cabs now.
Yeah.
So,
Talk about what we're doing for election.
oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you. So for election day, we will not have our regular transportation where we take people to work and stuff like that. We will be taking people to vote because voting is very important. We have set up that people can call us ahead of time. We are also in contact with agencies and other organizations in the community to send us people if they need help getting to vote. You would call our offices. If anybody needs that number, we can get it for you. And call extension 108. You will speak to Christian and he will put your name down, where you vote, where you live, your phone number, and we will get you there to vote. Now, if you know somebody who needs a right to vote, please share it with them. The only limitation we have is that we cannot help anyone up or down the stairs. So if somebody has trouble navigating stairs, say they use a walker,
and they can get down the stairs, but they can't get their walker and themselves down. We'll take the walker down and you can navigate the stairs, we'll hold it. For at the bottom of the stairs. If somebody needs an arm to walk from their house to the van, we absolutely have an arm to spare. But we will be taking as many people as we can to vote. It'll be on a first come, first served basis. We typically take people, all over, usually it's Erie County that people ask. We've been doing it for 4 years now. Actually, we've been doing it longer, but we just recently stopped transportation that day, so that's all we do. On election days. Does anybody have any questions? Is this free? Yes, it's free. I'm sorry, it's free of charge, yes. All right, thank you so much for your time today.
Yep.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
And my friends on the internet, however many tens of you there are, right? Yeah, did it get to 10? My name is Todd Bark. I'm Chief Policy Officer at West American Independent Living. And they want me to come and talk to you about voting. And I think that's really important. I think if we're giving you knowledge about candidates, hopefully everybody's here has learned something about the candidates that came today. But we got to help people carry it out. Carrying it out is by casting a ballot. Right?
Yeah.
So in order to cast a ballot, you have to be registered to vote. If any of you are not registered to vote in this room, raise your hand. You're just raising your hand, for example, you're not registered to vote. Gotcha. Okay. So if you know anybody that needs help in registering to vote, right? The senator is happy to help them, but in order to vote in this election, it's got to be done by
Tomorrow?
What was that?
Tomorrow?
It's 21 days before the polling date.
Oh.
So
Okay.
yeah, we're not there yet. We're like Monday or Tuesday of next week.
Oh, okay.
Right? Now, you then find your polling place. Now, under federal law, your polling place must be accessible for you, and there has to be an accessible way to cast your ballot. In Erie County, which is where the Buffalo Meet Candidates Day is, we are still using the AutoMark machines. I know they're getting old, they're getting crusty, and hopefully new equipment will be available soon for you to use. Erie County did buy a whole bunch of new machines from the ESS catalog that looks like a big television screen.
Oh.
Right? And you can navigate it with a little controller and it talks to you and you can select your candidates.
Oh.
However, the State Board of Elections apparently, for whatever reason, isn't allowing them to use them yet. So we're still using our existing system. So if you go to your polling place and it isn't accessible, you can't get in. Or you get in and you ask to use the accessible ballot marking device and they tell you that you can't or that you shouldn't. We get a lot of stories about poll workers saying, "Oh no, that isn't for you. That's for the blind people, or that's for the really disabled people." If you want to use the ballot marking device, anybody who requests it can use it. Right? It's got to be set up. It's got to be plugged in. It's got to be ready to go. It's got to be put in a position where they can't see who you're voting for. Okay? If none of those things are true, one of those things happens. I want you to do two things. First, I want you to call the Independent Living Center and talk to me or any of the managers and tell us what happened at your polling place on the day of the election, right? I take calls from the time polls open until the time polls close. 6 a.m. in the morning until 9 p.m. at night.
You're here all day long?
I take calls. I never said I was here. Because you might call me and say, I'm having a problem with my polling place, and I will get in my car and go over to your polling place to help you.
Oh,
While I'm doing that, I'm most certainly not here,
yeah,
right?
yep.
But somebody can call me, someone can call my extension, it'll forward to my cell phone when I'm not here. So
Oh,
while I'm helping you, I might be helping somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? Every election day, there's always a couple. And most of them are either the first thing in the morning because somebody wants to get up and get ahead of it and vote at 6 a.m. I love those people. Or after everybody works, like within the last couple of hours before the polls close, right? But we will help you. We will also help you file a complaint with Disability Rights New York, who still has the authority to file complaints with the Board of Elections on behalf of the Help America Vote Act. Right? It's called Protection and Advocacy for Voting Access, PAVA.
okay.
Right? Now, you can always do that yourself. You can call the DRNY public number. You can look that up. It's easy to find. But you'll get a general a calling person, like an intake person you call here. If you call me and we help you and we take notes and write notes for stuff, we can get that right into the hands of the PAVA guys. Right? And anybody here, who knows Gracie Chambers? I know a couple of people.
A lot of
know
people
Gracie.
do, yeah.
Yeah. Gracie,
Oh, yeah.
Gracie filed 3 complaints against Niagara County Board of Elections on how they handled the way accessible voting is done in their county. Now, they have a completely different machine,
Oh,
right? But Hava made them have a hearing. And she changed the way a bunch of polling places were designed because she complained. So if you go to vote and something makes it harder for you that you're entitled to under law, we're here to make sure, 1, that you get your vote in, right? And 2, that we complain about that to the powers that be so that never happens again. Now, I want to do a little bit of rule busting because my friends at Board of Elections would be very sad with me if I did not, right? If anybody knows anybody who votes by absentee ballot, right?
oh, I do.
Let's be very clear. Absentee ballots are always counted. They're not only counted in the event of a tie or within 2% or 1% of somebody winning. They're always counted. What the difference is they may not be counted on election night. So if you expect your vote to be one of the percentages that appears on the news, right? The night of the election, probably not. It takes the counties a few days. As a matter of fact, they had 30 to certify the election and count all the ballots. And that's absentee ballots, that's military ballots, that's affidavit ballots. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Right? It's all the ballot types after they've been verified, and then there's a final count, and that's who won the election. So please encourage people to vote whatever way they want to vote. I myself am going to tell you, I always want people to vote in person. I want people to see me going into my polling place and casting a ballot. And man, it's a lot easier than it used to be. Because I would go to polling places with the old lever system, and I have to request them to find the crank handle, right? But it got so bad, at one point, Board of Elections told me what box, there's numbered boxes that are sent to the polling place, what box the crank is kept in. So I would go and say, okay, you gotta go and get the crank out of box 2. And they go, how do you know the crank is in box 2? I'm like, oh my God, just go look, will you? And they go to box 2 and they find the crank. And then of course they have to crank it down. And this isn't something that happens in 2 minutes. It takes them like 5 minutes to do. And the machines are old and they're creaking. And everybody's watching how they're making this thing change for you. And then you roll in, you pull the curtain, you pull the levers, and then when you get out, instead of leaving it like that for the next guy,
Yeah.
Because if it's accessible for me, probably accessible for a standing person. No, now they gotta change it back. They gotta put the crank back in. They gotta do it the other way. Now I gotta watch them cranking it up and it can take forever. Now, I go in, I ask for a ballot. I roll over to the ballot marking device. I feed the ballot marking device in, it reads it, and it presents the races to me in Erie County one at a time. There's some keys I can press if I want, or I can touch the screen if I want, select the one I want. When I'm done with all the races, it gives me a summary. Sure. And when I'm happy with the summary, I push the button and it marks the ballot for me. It's a inkjet printer, it just marks the circles. And then it says, okay, I've marked your ballot. Do you want it? Or do you just want me to put it in my little container? Now, if I do it myself, it comes back to me, I will take it in the folder, carry it over to the same place where everybody else puts their ballots and feed it in. And that'll get counted just like every other ballot. If I push the other button and say, put it in your little container, it gets counted like an absentee ballot. It's still important, but it might not get counted on election night based on how they're tabulating votes. Okay? Go ahead.
That accessible software that you're talking about, is that mandatory at every polling station?
Yes, there's one at every polling station.
And is it, because I've never noticed it myself, but so where do you access it? Is it like, you go to the desk, if you need help today?
Every polling place is a little different because the device needs power, where you filling out a ballot doesn't. All you need is some desks and some number 2 pencils. So it needs power, and they're gonna put it in a place where it gets power. So they're gonna tell you where it is when you ask about it. That's why I said, if you ask to use the accessible ballot marking device and they say, I'm not gonna tell you where it is because it's not for you, that is complaint worthy. That's the stuff I wanna know. I want you to call me. 716-836-0822, extension 101. You can email me, T, V as in Victor, AAR, WERK @WNYIL.org. Okay? And I will get back to you and we will figure out how we can help you get your ballot done. Any other questions so far? Now we're waiting for our 4:30 candidate to arrive. We do have a 4:30, a 4:40, and a 4:50. Hopefully one of them is running early. So what I'd like to do is give everybody a 10-minute break to get some water. Like me.
Yeah.
And have everybody come back for 4:25. Okay?
Hey. You have good timing. Because they're waiting. I'm watching Meet the Kennedys today in Buffalo, and they're waiting for the Kennedy who's running behind. So they just gave the people who were there in person a few minutes to go get water.
I already got my absentee ballot last week.
His chance of taking more. Just let me know what's what. I mean, you like it when she's there, though, you not?
I know. I gave it water. So it'll be your job to get your power out of it. And go out with the crank on and bring it back.
We'll find a way.
Yeah.
We're not, I barely can bring back.
Well,
it's okay.
That was that. All right.
That's what we're here for.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Clean up my apartment, like,
You know, there is probably a source for that. But seriously, that would be a thing. If nobody's actually done that.
Oh, yeah. We got enough money in the bank account, maybe I can get it repaired.
That is a fucking electrical problem.
You can see on the camera. There's an operator.
What kind of work you do on your fucking car? It's gonna cost.
It's closer to Thanksgiving.
This is basic fucking shit.
Well, you know, it's funny, I went to the page that we had, watched this in case anybody who was broadcasting needed.
How cares all
We
about
did all
it?
this set up instead of and then I realized that I used the biggest possible role. Great things that projects were already using. Sure.
I feel like nobody see it, but listen, I think this from a draping standpoint, I think this is. Is promoting our.
Oh, yeah, I'm right on it.
Oh, you want to go to the karaoke, right?
Yeah, nonsense. I hate it when fucking.
Well, if you're not up to it, just call her and let her know.
She's going to the sister.
I wanted more. Well, I mean, selection system, we might want
Oh,
very.
so she'll be there one way or another.
I've really been enjoying the fact that we had such diversity in our songs.
And the live people are right, was in those, have a conversation, but what, that out.
Yeah, that's very good. That's very,
Oh, it's, yeah, it's
Jeremiah
Jeremiah, so,
was
well, that's what he said, I'm not staying here, I'm going back to my office.
I'm going over here to check the system, make sure everything's hunky dory.
About there's some food image and the tax funds comes from property taxes. Think about the properties. So the property owners in the city, many of them are absentee, they don't live in the city. And their political influence doesn't go towards making the system better. It just doesn't.
That's the key. It's like the taxes get pulled different ways. So they're getting the money one way or another. Someone on top of that is spending money on something that most likely.
Well, so.
Because it's like, well, hey, I can tell you, in your city, I pay taxes, so it's I am so they like, you know, obviously it's not just tax. It's not just that. Someone else is on that.
Just get in that position and you're really hoping that. Hey, push your hands, just keep nice and you keep, you know, I know him. It's like, yeah, it's you follow the proper.
Get notes from Metro, like they wanted to do send the Metro rail to the 8 program.
They didn't want to, that's right, they didn't want to send anything on Agricultural Boulevard, they don't want, so that's exactly what it is. So. Yes, exactly, but that is actually national. That isn't just local, that's not anybody, that politics is local. But when it's building that and along with its highway system, and the buildings of those things, additional black neighborhoods. They did it deliberately, they destroyed the neighborhoods. They did it deliberately. And they did it here, it's 33. It's right to the neighborhood. And what are they doing? They leave the traffic all the way around on the east side of Buffalo. Businesses on the Broadway, they died. Because there's no traffic. And the buildings are out there like a crack. I love the bill. But no, it's not. It makes sense because businesses they want to support. So that traffic is stuck out there for a while. Out there get the benefit of it. But we pay taxes for it, right?
Yes.
Traffic stuck in the city for a while.
Like to plug in down there. Is that what you're yes. And I love the fact that this was I'm a humongous fan of that one. Yes, of course. So, because I figured if anybody was gonna be working at the podium, it was gonna be now. Yes, where you needed to unwrap it as well.
Awful, apparently, it's one bus going in, one bus going out. Yeah.
It's a place in the city.
Yeah.
But I mean, the best thing that we do to help us bring into the city. They don't need to be a. You know, a lot of stuff works well.
Yes, we're probably going Vegas on.
It's okay, just keep your, make sure you.
Oh, yeah.
You have future.
Okay.
Right back, okay?
Oh, yes. I am.
I'm 114.
It's on Buffalo Transit Riders United. He's a Metro driver, and he will get that on and argue it hardcore.
As a Metro driver,
Yeah.
he'll be quiet because they're gonna tell
Oh,
him, shut up.
no, he doesn't care if he gets fired.
Okay.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to get out of there. I'm trying to bring him here. For.
Oh.
Helping him is tough.
Oh.
Raise that one.
Yeah,
So I'll read letter. I talked to letter. I mean, you look at every borough here and say, you know.
Hey, hold on.
No, you said they go there. They go to South Park.
Yeah. Yeah, but they don't have any watches on the weekend.
Way in, one way out. One way in, one way out.
He's been driving.
And it's not, you know, I can get that same exposure, right? But. Yes, I understand the meeting. Yes, the meeting is being recorded. We all understand. So where are we? Okay. Oh, my eyes are absolutely killing me right now, right?
Yeah, there's.
So they don't are.
That's all we want. I forget where they are, and I've only played with them once so far.
It's all right, we can talk about it later.
Yeah.
They got rid of it.
So, so what was happening? Let me get through, yeah, allow, cancel. Why do you?
And even like the Ubers, like if I.
Why do you not want to go?
When I had like my luggage and everything.
Why do you not want to go away? Cancel. Okay.
I think we're almost there. Yeah. Liberal fascists are in power and then just not the street.
Yeah, it is going to sell. It doesn't automatically feed audio from the laptop.
Yeah.
I have two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's like.
I was looking at
The last time they- Yeah.
So you were at the single box. Side of the seats.
Yes.
So just.
Just make sure that I don't forget it. Problem.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think we know.
Oh, I got time.
Like that. But like,
Because they don't want to service.
and if somebody does something wrong,
They would just expand.
but I also am a guided passenger. So I do like.
This is says.
Time before that, I was in.
So basically, like, so you told your daughter.
I mean, and I.
Yeah. When you're counting the leaves. So it wasn't going to that house. You just kind of working against it. Really. No. Elsie's like, look at it. You know, process hard to figure out. Yeah. See what's going on. Yes. Yes.
Especially because that show has such a flavorful beauty of the populace.
Yeah. I know it. I love it. So I get rid of that spray thing.
Yeah, I based it on the standard of the senior in college.
Yeah.
I'm just here to.
I got my just like outside. That was a really well.
That's the second. It's not. I have no.
It's like lighting.
Yeah, the cookie tasting. Yeah, you have. Talk about the show. Yeah. And you see the last song. And just like talk about. We're all fine. Yeah. Like, how can I?
Jerry was like, "Tell me office guy," and
It was really funny to say that. The first thing that someone said, I actually thought, and one day she was. She drove.
Candidates, yes.
And because she had set up her emergency contact, they called the emergency, check the phone. And I'm gonna be looking at, it's the same way, it's the same one as calling, you go. You didn't tell me to tell now. Like, what's going on? Please. No, Michigan Grove or someplace.
Yeah, it's like 20 years ago, I used to like. It's a conference, but they don't really do it anymore. It was kind of. Twitter, or they had that's one or this. Instead of like Facebook or somewhere. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like we could just kind of like vent about one.
That is the depth.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of, I got played in.
Yeah.
The first guy.
His head was like currently beating us. She said, "Down all of them."
So that.
You know what? I need to go.
Right on MySpace.
It's gonna happen. We're talking.
Oh, yes, I did.
That's what. Yeah.
Commendable. You can name video.
Without saying, there used to be like, it has to be. There's something out there to see, but it was in the budget. They don't talk to that.
They brought faster.
Tell me what legislation, can you get legislation?
Yeah. One of the days I'm not gonna spread. Probably. It's about this time to doing. Yeah.
Katie.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. Yes, 5 to 5. Yeah. Yeah, I think it took me a lot of years to walk in these type of shoes. So. Oh, no, I can go higher. I can go higher than that. Without like. Okay, by all means, I'll wear it. No. Yeah. Listen, I don't got no money to steal. I don't got no money to steal. I'm saying I need your too. Birthday, but I don't got no money for you to steal.
I was never gonna, I never gonna stay, so I didn't do it too, and I wasn't even stealing, but
I'm kidding.
I did borrow, I didn't borrow.
I'm going on.
Mary Dormer is running for Amherst Board. Thank you. Nice to be here with all of you. I am Mary Dormer. I am running for Amherst Town Board. It's a pleasure to be in this building. I went to UB and graduated with my undergraduate degree in communications, public relations way back in the mid-90s. And I was just mentioning to Tracy that I work for Buffalo Place Incorporated. It's a not-for-profit business improvement organization in downtown Buffalo in my first professional job, but I also worked for AmeriCorps. And we collaborated with a lot of the local elementary, middle, and high schools. And we went into classrooms and I had the opportunity to work with students with disabilities, and that was quite an honor. I am a devout Catholic and I believe that we are all made in God's image and you are perfect just the way you are. Yep. And I have a cousin who I grew up with who had Down syndrome. And he and I had a very special relationship. And I learned more from my cousin Billy about just how perfect he was as an individual with Down syndrome, and that there was nothing wrong with him. I sort of looked in the mirror and thought, what do I need to do to improve? Because my cousin is so happy and so joyous. So that really was my first exposure to someone with challenges, with life challenges. And so I actually, my cousin is no longer with us, but it was a gift because I learned so much of what it meant and the struggles that my cousin had. So from a very young age, I was, you know, I had a gift of being familiar with someone with challenges. So moving back into, you know, my post undergraduate years, I worked for Buffalo Place, like I said, and we ran events in downtown Buffalo. But I got to go out on my lunch and meet all sorts of people from the homeless shelter in downtown Buffalo. And at the time it was on Goodell Street. And that was an opportunity for me to really get out there and be able to connect with people that had different backgrounds and didn't come from maybe the same type of background that I came from. But what I learned, and I continue to learn, because I was taught, you know, this is the golden rule, to treat others the way you would want to be treated yourself. So I continued to develop in my humanity in that way. And so gaining all sorts of, you know, experience, both professionally, but just that human to human contact. I would come back from lunch and we were told, oh, you can't give money to these people on the street, or you can't. And as an employee of Buffalo Place, I learned I can't do that, but what I can do is spend time with them and actually, you know, break bread with them and have lunch with them and share what I had with them to the degree that I could. So that truly was an opportunity in my life to grow and to appreciate people that come from a different background from me. People have other challenges. We all have challenges. I was thinking about what my challenges were today before I came here. And, you know, you can look at someone and you can think, wow, this person, you know, they look a certain way. And you might think that they have it all together, but they don't always have it all together. You don't know what someone's struggling with on the inside. But certainly when we look at someone who has more of a physical disability, we need to be dialed into that. And we need to be able to understand, how do we extend ourselves and help them? So as a candidate running for Amherst Town Board, I've been investigating and researching all of the issues. And I know that residents that have special needs and disabilities, they need to know that they're heard and they need to know that they're supported. The American Disabilities Act of 1990, I'm going to be honest with you, I know that I would need to study that more and look into that more, but there was a very important reason that that piece of legislation was passed, and it's because Americans with disabilities need to be supported. They need to have the resources available for them to thrive independently in their lives, in their places of employment, in government buildings, public buildings, and they need to know that that financial support is there, and not just that, but just that our communities have awareness for people with disabilities. So to me, that's very, very important. Specifically, as I was preparing for my speech today, I thought about, you know, November 4th, specifically, having access to voting that is going to be supportive of people with disabilities, so that in fact, when they pull up to a poll, a voting place, that they have parking lot resources, that we have ramps for people with disability, so that we know that our handicap doors work. We need to train our poll workers so that they know how to identify somebody who might have a special need. We need our poll workers to be able to provide audio recording, voting technology, braille, large print, stuff of that nature, that type of technology, because that is available now. Some of it's more basic, but some of it is more developed technologically, and it's available. So if it's there, we need to make sure it's available to our voters with special needs. We need to have community advocacy and outreach to people who support disabilities and agencies out in our community, so that we're getting the word out about what's the best way to support this community. What's the best way to support our neighbors, our residents, and let them know that we care and we think about what your challenges are on a daily basis. So with that, I just want to say again, I'm very grateful and very humbled to be with you today. Every day I wake up, I say, God, what can I learn today? And every day I feel like you have to really put yourself out there and put yourself out of your comfort zone to be able to learn about others. One other important thing I just want to mention is I work at Damon University and I work with the disabilities office. And I have been learning every single semester how important it is to support our students with disabilities. And I have watched students start their academic journey from freshman to senior year, and just having that point of contact and helping them be successful throughout their program. That has been such an experience for me, where I've learned so much, and I'm so grateful for that. So now that I mentioned that as well, I just want to thank you all for listening to me talk and share my journey and learning about this incredible community of people that make a difference in our world every day. Thank you so much.
Yep. Okay. I got a question. As a person with disability, other people with disabilities, we're well aware of what the needs and the issues are of this organization. It's an organization of advocates for people with disabilities, as well as other representatives from other disability groups here that are part of this. And appreciate you doing some of your homework and acknowledging that that's what the towns and villages and whatever have to do.
Yes.
But what I'd like to know is, why are you running as a town board member? What are the issues that you see in my town as to why I should vote for you?
Yes, great.
That's what I want.
Okay, well, I'm going to provide you my answer. So I've lived in Amherst for just about 25 years, raised my 5 children in Amherst, and they have attended the public schools and the Catholic schools in Amherst, but mostly public. And we have had the good fortune throughout that time to meet our neighbors and people in the community that have disabilities at Heim Elementary, Heim Middle, Williamsville North. I've had friends, my children's friends in our house, and I know what their challenges are, right? From what I see.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that the future of Amherst is going to provide people that have disabilities an opportunity to thrive in our community, to have the resources available. When you know somebody personally that has a disability, it touches you deeper, I feel. And I feel that meeting my children's friends over the years and people at my parish, it makes it more personal. And I feel like I've never run for office before. So throwing my hat in the ring and stepping forward and advocating for this, for people with disabilities in Amherst, that's a great opportunity to enhance our community and to give a better quality of life to people with disabilities.
So that's the reason why you're running, is to be an advocate for people with disabilities?
Well, absolutely. Yes.
So there are no other town issues that you're concerned?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I talk about those all day long, every day, when I knock on doors.
That's what I want.
So I just wanted to sort of make it personal about people that I know in my community. But in addition to my awareness of people with disabilities and what their needs are, I'm also running on a platform where we are very concerned about the increase of our taxes, which jumped 11.4% 2 days after the 2023 election.
Yeah.
Because that makes it very difficult for people who struggle economically to afford to live in our town. So that is the biggest reason I'm stepping forward, is so that we can make sure that everyone in Amherst can afford to live there and have a good quality of life. We have knocked on almost 12,000 doors, my team. And we have met people from all backgrounds, economically, socioeconomically. And we know some people, that doesn't affect them. But others, it affects them very much to the extent that they actually are leaving Amherst. So we need more fiscal responsibility. We need to lower taxes so that people can stay in Amherst. Everything's going up, the cost of living, everything. So my hope is that we can reduce taxes. We're hoping by 5% in that we are going to help look at across the board what's going on in each department and cutting excess spending that is frivolous spending and spending that it quite frankly has caused our taxes to go up by 11.4%. And also we're going to be very conservative in terms of future spending and future borrowing. And we're going to freeze everything unless there's an emergency so that we can take a very fiscal conservative approach and make sure the quality of life is affordable for Amherst residents. That's the biggest thing. The biggest issues that I see is that affordability for Amherst residents is out of reach at this point for many, not for all, but for many. And certainly a lot of people with disabilities, I think, would attest to that.
What do you consider frivolous spending to be? Top three.
Well, I think that we've been looking and boiling a lot of information from the current administration and on the town board website. And we know that there's a lot of exempt positions, and this is a hard one. Not gonna lie, this is hard. People that have been hired for positions that aren't necessarily needed at this point. There was one project that was put in place about 8 years ago called the Amherst Central Park that never came to fruition, and a lot of positions that were hired for that. And so I'm very skeptical, and my running mates, about why those positions were created and where they are now. So there's a lot of money that has been invested in employment that we think we could save money on. So that's one of the biggest things when you look at the budget.
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Well, I would say we would definitely, I would say this before I get to 2 and 3. We will never ever cut any funding to essential services. But we need to go in and we need to look in each department and see. I would say the biggest thing would be how are we spending our money and what kind of bonding is happening, and how can we refinance our bonds so that we are getting a better rate. So that's something that we're looking into.
So 2 and 3.
So I would also say that we want to make sure that we're not spending money on projects that are not priority. So that we're not spending money on projects that because we know we did an accounting of our 32 parks in Amherst. And it will be interesting to hear, I'm sure, that about 80% of them are not up to ADA compliance or even up to snuff in terms of quality and enjoyment. So instead of spending money on putting in new parks or building new splash pads, we got to make sure that what we have in place is going to be sustainable and updated so that our the current state of the town is enjoyable, and we're not wasting money on new initiatives when we have to maintain and upkeep the ones that are currently in place. So I would say that that's a very big consideration that we would look into in saving money.
To interrupt, but we do have our next speaker, Brian, so thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. Have a great day. Nice to meet you.
Oh. Yeah, we'll find out. The guy, she was shot.
Apparently she's not coming. That's what I was.
We all come mad.
Next speaker is here, Don Traber, who's running for Amherst Town Board.
You say,
John Traber.
John Traber,
running for what?
for the Amherst Town Board.
Another one, huh?
Yeah, I'm running with Mary, who just left here.
Yeah.
So again, Republican and conservative endorsed. When you say that, sir, we'd like to kind of get rid of those letters.
I don't.
We'd like people to. I appreciate that too.
Why don't we get rid of those letters?
Because we'd rather people not look at the letters and they look at the candidate. And not, I mean, I hope that people don't vote strictly party line. I hope that people vote the person.
No,
I think that's a
you
big
chosen a party, so you have this philosophical bent.
Right.
Which should be acknowledged. I'm not saying you're a Republican and you, wear a mega hat.
No, but sir, you say that, and there are people out there that would automatically label me as that.
Yes, I understand, but that's not me. But I do want to know what party you are, because I'm a Republican.
Okay.
I'm a liberal Republican, I ran for county legislator in '85.
Okay.
That's why I'm sitting here, because I want.
Uh-oh.
All right, well, if I may. Yeah, again, my name is John Traber, and I'm running for the Amherst Town Board. I grew up in the town of Amherst. Most of my career was in law enforcement. I worked 3 years with the city of Buffalo, and then I worked 27 out in the town of Amherst. I grew up in Amherst. I was educated in Amherst. I raised my family in Amherst, and now I'm fully retired. I've been retired about 6.5 years, and I got into this because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to serve the people in a different capacity, and that's what I'm trying to do here. So a big part of me coming here, first of all, I appreciate the invitation, but my exposure to persons with disabilities has been limited in my lifetime. Did I run into people in police work? Absolutely. Predominantly, that was when somebody was in trouble. But I haven't been exposed to the community where there's been a lot of disabilities in my life. And one thing I'd like to do here is hear your concerns, because I would like this as an opportunity to learn. So I would just open it up to any questions that anybody would have for me, or any information they can provide for me.
I am a town of Amherst resident.
Yes.
I want to know why you're running, and what are the issues that you see that are causing you to run in Amherst?
Well, a big issue is the town debt. Town is currently about $185 million in debt. I think that's something we have to address. That's a big issue. Spending, rising taxes, those are really the main issues.
What are the things that how do you propose to alter that? What are the things that you feel would need to be reduced to balance that spending to help pay off the debt? Have you identified things that you think would be?
Well, what we have to do, I'm not in office, so I don't have.
Yeah,
What I would like to do is I'd like to cut on any non-essential spending. Anything that we can do, I'm not sure, the things that are extras, if somebody say they want to make a bike path, well, that's something we can't do, because that's non-essential. If we have, there's other things in town that need to be addressed. There's sewer issues, there's street issues. There's things that are essential to the infrastructure of the town that I think we should address first, that are absolute needs, before we address wants of certain things.
I want to ask you really one question.
Yes.
As a Republican,
Yes.
are you aligned philosophically with the national approach that Republicans have towards cutting services to people? And please bear in mind that you're talking to people who are directly impacted.
Yeah, right.
What is happening
Absolutely.
right now? We won't speak in hypotheticals.
Right, no, not in hypotheticals. I would never support cutting
funding for people that need it. And when you talk about people with disabilities, those are people that need funding for different things. And again, I'm not real familiar with the community itself. I'm not sure where the funding goes and where it should be directed. But if they're absolute needs, no, it should never be cut. And when you ask a question, I'm sorry to cut you off. When you ask a question, am I aligned with what's going on at the national level? There's some portions that I am. I think that we should have efficiencies in certain parts of government. I think the larger the government gets, so on the federal level, I think that there probably is a lot of waste in a little different spots, and things should get looked at. And the reason it should get looked at is because government should be a good steward of the taxpayers' dollars, and it should be going in the right spot. Does that answer your question, sir?
What do you consider the right spots to be?
Needs.
Okay.
Needs of the people.
Okay, and can you be more specific on that, your
Well,
top three?
Top three, well, I guess I could only go with the local one. Top three would be infrastructure, sewers, roads, public safety. Okay?
And is that also important outside of that? That's the local.
Outside of
What's
absolutely.
important to you outside of that, infrastructure?
What's important to me, taking care of the people through taking care of their needs, which would be through providing good infrastructure, providing good services, providing public safety. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
It does.
Thank you.
Great.
So how do you determine what is an absolute need or an essential need, right? Because different people would probably consider different things needs versus wants. So what is going to be the mindset that guides you in determining what is a need versus a want for your community?
And again, the only way I can address that is a concrete need. If you have a sewer plant that needs $4 million worth of work, that's an absolute necessity. We're talking about public safety. We're talking about public health. If we're talking about a bike path, people want to have a bike path going through the town. Is that a necessity? I wouldn't identify that as a necessity. I would say that that is something that we can take care of if we have the funding after we take care of that sewer.
So in the disability community, we often talk about meeting EDA requirements, and then going beyond that would be considered universal design, making things more universally accessible. I'm wondering, will you maybe just support initiatives that seek to meet a legal definition, or will you go beyond that if community members are expressing a need for, say, better infrastructure, sidewalks, paved paths and parks, that kind of thing?
If, again, once it's identified as a need, if people express their concern and they can identify that need, when you talk about something like a curb cut, that's absolutely a necessity. That's accessibility. Accessibility is a necessity. So that's where, did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right, yes.
You look at me with concern.
No, I'm concerned, that's why I'm not attracted to you. And I don't wanna look like I'm dodging you by looking away. That's so I'm saying. Well, I don't wanna shy away from a hard question, I really don't. This really, this is for me to learn, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm sorry, sir.
Please.
But I'm gonna tell you a couple of different experiences in my police work, right? So I was mentioning to Todd, the handicap parking tags, right? Those are a huge concern, right? A cop pulls through a plaza and he sees a person hop out of a car and they look perfectly healthy and they run into the store. Well, I gotta ask the guy a question. Hey, I'm sorry, but can you tell me what your disability is? Because there might be somebody who doesn't have that ability to run into the store that might want to park in that spot. Right? So then I was told at one point, you can't ask people that. You're violating their rights. And I'm thinking to myself, well, then what you're doing is you're tying my hands. You know, you have to ask a pointed question that says, are you the proper tag holder? Well, what's to prevent somebody from saying yes? Right? I understand now from what Todd was telling me, as of 20 years ago, now, if you have identification, you have your last three numbers that will match your identification. Well, that wasn't around when I was on patrol, right? So I would just have to kind of look at things and ask somebody, and sometimes people would get very defensive because I wasn't able to identify their disability, or they weren't really disabled. And they couldn't come up with a good reason of why they were doing that. I'm sorry, go ahead, Miss.
I'm gonna say two things to
Yes,
that.
yes.
To enlighten you.
Yes.
First of all, not all disabilities are visual.
I understand.
And second of all, if I went through the hassle of going through the law to get the pay, I shouldn't have to explain this.
Okay, and I appreciate that, but that puts an officer in a precarious position wanting to enforce the law because
If you should, if somebody's breaking the law, to assume somebody is
Right.
not.
No, and with the assumption, assuming somebody hops out of a car and they look assumingly healthy to me, I make an assumption that person is healthy, but I should have the right to go on to someone and say, hey, I just want to make sure that you're disabled.
Why do you even have that right?
That's what I'm
To
saying.
protect people that do have the right to park in that spot, to prevent abuse.
I could really help you back. I look really healthy.
You do look healthy.
I do. I have a handicap.
Okay,
It's none of your business, why.
And a lot of
Okay.
people
And that,
with
and that's,
mental
and that's the
health.
problem, that's the problem you run into. So
Right.
you said at the beginning, I'm sorry, but you said at the beginning that you haven't run into people, you don't have a lot of experience dealing with people with disabilities.
Yeah.
You are absolutely wrong.
okay,
You just don't know you're dealing with people with
Okay,
disabilities.
I appreciate
that.
okay,
And when you ask someone to explain themselves, their disability, that is offensive.
and I understand that.
And you may not get that, because I understand, trust me, I've worked with police officers.
And it can be
I've
triggering.
worked with police officers so that people they encounter who have disabilities don't end up dead because police may not know how to interact with them. I've been on ride alongs.
Okay.
I know the complexities of some of the work.
Right. So it
But
answers,
there's a larger question. And-
Yes.
And I don't want to get distracted by that, because that's a distraction from me. Not that it's not important. but
Okay.
it's from your point of view of candidacy.
yes,
I want to ask this question.
yes,
Women would say years ago that the personal is political. Some of us remember that,
I'm
right?
sorry, but what is,
The personal is political.
okay,
How women get treated has political implications, and they should vote thinking about those kind of things.
okay,
Today, the political is personal. The political is personal.
okay,
Because there is a national conversation we're having. There is a political divide in the country. And when people want to run for a local office, the conversation is always that politics is local.
Okay.
Yes, but it has national implications.
okay,
So given what is happening in the country right now and how it impacts agencies like this,
yes.
what is your argument for why people should not simply vote Democrat and then force the Republican Party to have the conversations they need to have with each other about how to better serve the people? Because everyone in this room who has a disability and is affected by all these things that are happening, we feel all of this.
Yes.
This agency has all kinds of buku funding that comes from the Department of Education.
Right.
Through Medicaid, we help people with Medicaid.
Sure.
We help people. And the people we help are suffering.
Okay.
And then because of the political, your party is doing this. And I think it's unfair to stand in front of these people with disabilities and pretend this has nothing to do with you. So I'm not attacking you, I'm just making you aware of something. And I want to know, why should people vote, not vote Democrat, just so we have two healthy parties? We want a healthy Republican Party that has meaningful conversations. It doesn't happen. So why should we not?
Well, I'd like to ask you this though. In my eyes, and again, in my opinion, both sides are at fault. Both sides should be come together. It shouldn't be Republicans are this and Democrats are this. It should be more people working to get along for the common good of everyone. And unfortunately, that is lost. So for you, sir, to say that people should vote just Democratic so they can force the Republicans to do one thing, I think that's kind of unfair to people that identify as Democrat, but don't, there's different levels of Republicans, Democrats, right? You know what I mean? Two extremes of each side. And I think by saying that to force the Republicans, you're not giving these people the benefit, or not the benefit, you're not allowing them to be able to say, look, I can work with them, I can vote for somebody different, but I have the ability to work together. And I think that's where the problem is we can't work together. And I can tell you this, as a candidate, I would work with anyone, as long as they're willing to, even if they're not willing to work with me, I would try my hardest to work with them.
So you answered my question.
You did. I hope I did. Thank you, because I think I didn't want to get off track.
You have to wrap up. Sorry, we've gone over a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have one more.
All right, I apologize.
They can talk to you out the hall.
Okay.
I yield.
I yield. All right.
I yield to the gentleman from Alabama, and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you. And actually, one last statement is, again, if I'm able to get in there, I would look to find resources that can enlighten me to the needs of this community, because it's just the right thing.
And talk to people with opposite views.
Thank you so much.
What's that?
Yeah, our final speaker today.
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
It's running.
Little Red Riding Hood. I'll take that story. All right, thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. It is evening. I'm Michael Gaynor. I'm told that I am the only mayoral candidate that you're having an opportunity to interact with this evening. And I'm very grateful for that opportunity. I will be very transparent and open and say that the organization Western New York Independent Living, I just got the crib notes of the services that they've been offered or that they offer out of this facility, and I'm blown away by the amount of staff that are here to provide assistance with people with disabilities in our community, and by the scope of services that they offer. It is an area that I am not, in full transparency, super familiar with, to be very honest. But it is an area that I would like to learn more about, specifically what the needs are of this organization and what the needs are with people living with disabilities here in Western New York. I have spent the last 20 years of my time here. I moved here in November 1st of 2005. So I've been here for 20 years, and I've been working and living mostly on the east side of Buffalo, on Northampton Street, where I started numerous community efforts. One, Buffalo Reuse, which is an organization that recycles and reuses building materials. And then another is called The Foundry, which is like a small business incubator space. But the thing that's different about me, that probably separates me from most of the people that you've heard from today, is that this attire, the way that I look tonight, this role as the next mayor of Buffalo is something that's very new for me. I am a team builder, I'm a community builder, I'm a community advocate, I'm a small business owner, I'm an educator. But I've been working in this city for 20 years, and I've been very discouraged by what I view as a lack of vision and a lack of leadership by our elected officials. So that all came to head in the last 2 years when I've been working on the Humboldt Parkway, the Kensington Expressway project. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the effort to restore Humboldt Parkway, to actually remove the highway from the center of an urban neighborhood and put the park back the way that it used to be 60 or 70 years ago. And I got involved in that effort because it was my community, number one. Number two, because I was concerned about the health of our communities, the health of our neighborhoods,
the amount of cars and noise that drive through there every day, and really about the physical separation that that highway creates between our neighborhoods. So I got involved in that effort. We went door to door. We talked to the neighbors on the Humboldt Parkway. We did a lot of workshops and seminars and information sessions to tell people and educate people about what the DOT's plan was. And I will tell you that because of the work of those people in that neighborhood, because of the work of the East Side Parkways Coalition, people coming together and articulating their vision for what that project should be, we are not going to have a tunnel in the middle of the east side of Buffalo. We are going to, and we have a fresh restart now, have an opportunity to hopefully have a park there now. And everybody is like, well, what are you gonna do with the traffic? What are you gonna do with the traffic? Well, we have one of the best designed cities in the world. And I think that when they built that highway, they decimated, destroyed businesses on Genesee Street, on Broadway, on Sycamore, on Kensington, even on some areas of Main Street and Jefferson and Fillmore. Those communities were transformed because we made it really quick for people to get out of the city as fast as possible. And then they stopped patronizing the businesses. Those businesses deteriorated, and eventually they look like they do today. Neighborhoods that are largely vacant, very little business vitality. And you hear it from my neighbors all the time. We wish we had more grocery stores. It's not the way that it used to be. We have to go out to the suburbs to get shoes, to get clothing. So my vision was A, to restore the health of the neighborhood, but also to think about how we can transform the economic districts on the east side of Buffalo. So it sounds like a good idea, right? More green space, healthy communities, vibrant business districts, all of it fits together in what we think of as a healthy, vibrant city. But despite that, despite all of that community support, despite all the work we did, we couldn't get one elected official to sit down and acknowledge the value of what we were talking about. They were dead set on a tunnel. Every city council member, every county legislator, our assembly members, our senators. And that's where I decided we cannot continually make decisions that negatively impact our communities. And I'm in a position as a community member, as a problem solver, to do something about it. And that's why I'm here tonight. That's why I'm talking, engaging with you, because I believe that's the role of a mayor, is to bring people together to solve problems together. What are the problems in the disability, people that are living with disabilities community? What are the problems in the homeless community? What are the problems with housing? I'm an educator, so I'm always thinking about education. What are our needs and opportunities for young people that may have dropped out of school or need an opportunity? Where do we have to build capacity to make sure there's jobs, all kinds of jobs for different people that need a way to support themselves and their families? So I'm always thinking about how to best solve problems. That's what I was doing over here. I was specifically asking some members of the staff, like, so what are the needs of your community? What are the things that you're struggling with? You know, what are the opportunities? How do we make more job opportunities available? How do we make our streets more accessible? How do we make our sidewalks more accessible? So these are all the things that I'm excited to learn from you about, because again, this is something where I know in this job, the learning curve is going to be very steep. But good thing is that I'm up for the challenge. I'm excited to learn about opportunities. I'm excited to bring new people to the table, because I believe that we have all of the talent and all of the people and all of the resources that we need to solve most of our problems right here. We just need to leverage it in a way that helps to move our city forward. We got to be creative. We got to do things that have never been done before. We may need to elect somebody that's not a politician, right? That can think differently about bringing people together and solving the most pressing needs of our communities. So I appreciate the opportunity. I know that you have a lot of questions. And one of the questions might be, why is he carrying a basket? So I'll wait for that question, and then I'll explain to you why it's here, and we'll open it up to you guys. to share with me your questions, and I'll do my best to answer. Yes, sir. If you could just share your name too.
My name is Rafiq.
Rafiq.
Yes.
Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you too. And I actually mean that. It is a pleasure to meet you, not empty words.
Right on.
This project to cover, to get rid of to 33,
Yes,
that's
sir.
estimated the east side of Buffalo.
Yes, sir.
It is a pleasure to hear what I have shared with my colleagues come back to me. I know Sam Rath,
Mm-hmm.
and I've participated in some of those meetings.
Yes.
So I get that. Where is that at right now? Because I obviously you want to fill it. And how far do you want to fill it back to?
Well, here's the thing. Right now, where it's at is the project is stopped. The plan was that there was to be excavators in the ground this fall, actually starting to rebuild what's there and cap it. Now, if you live right in front of the highway, a cap sounds like a good idea, right? Because you're not looking at the highway anymore, you're not hearing the cars anymore. But when you dig a little bit deeper into that plan, you notice that what it was going to do was concentrate vehicular exhaust at both the portal ends, at both Dodge Street, right by the Science Magnet School, and at Sydney, close to the Boys and Girls Club and Hamlin Park School. And that is a community that's already been decimated by and already struggles with some of the worst health outcomes in the country. So that would have exacerbated all of those problems: COPD, young people with asthma, cardiac disease, low life expectancy, big problems. So we came together, we raised some money, we ended up suing the DOT, and in February, the decision was announced that the state would have to do a more rigorous environmental review. What that means is, if you live in Orchard Park and they build a Tim Hortons, okay? The city of Orchard Park requires you to do an environmental impact study, right? This is a $1 billion project in the center of a dense urban environment, and the state of New York did not do an environmental impact study. They did a lesser environmental assessment. So the judge basically said, state of New York, you can't do that. You have to study not just a tunnel, but you have to study all the other reasonable alternatives. What's a reasonable alternative? Let's use the street grid that we have. Let's fill in the Humboldt Parkway, and the Kensington Expressway, and put back the park that used to be there. And by doing that, we reconnect our street grid, and we'll make investments. It's actually cheaper to do that. The tunnel would have probably cost our community anywhere from $2 to $4 billion, not to mention $12 million of annual maintenance, okay? So we take that money, and they did something very similar. We spend less to remove the highway, basically from the Skajackwada to Oak Street, okay? Not talking about what would become maybe, let's call it the Airport Express, right? That maybe picks up from Grider and takes you out to the airport. Or maybe let's do something really innovative and think about, a light rail that goes from downtown to the airport, right? But then we take the extra money and we invest it into what was once referred to as the best designed city in the world, Genesee Street. I was just up at City Hall, up at the observation deck. Has anybody ever been up there? You ever been up at the top? It's amazing, right? And you can look from the observation deck right down Genesee Street. Guess what's right next to Genesee Street? The 33 Expressway. Like, they almost run parallel all the way to the airport.
Yes.
And then Broadway, and then William, and then Seneca. All of these streets go right to downtown. Now, we have to invest in them. We have to make them better, right? We want people to move efficiently to downtown. So there's all kinds of new technology for synchronized light technology, for moving cars more efficiently. We have to look at how to better invest in streetscapes, and trees, and green space along those corridors so that they're beautiful. I want them to be beautiful. I want our city to be beautiful. Frederick Longstead described it as a city in a park. And when they built that highway, they dismantled a big section of park, and we want it back. So did that answer your question?
Oh, it did.
It's stopped right now. The EIS is getting started right now. So what that means is they're gonna set new project goals. They're gonna scope out different options for how they solve the Kensington Expressway dilemma. And some people will say, oh, just leave it alone, just leave it alone. right? We don't have to do anything. I don't wanna spend any money on it. We have much more pressing community needs, and I agree. There are a lot of more pressing community needs, but that highway is beyond its lifespan. If you drive down the Kensington Expressway, look at the retaining walls, and you'll see that they're crumbling. The bridges, they just replaced the bridge at Grider. They also replaced the bridge at Bailey. They're moving down because all of those bridges need to be redone. So something has to be done. The question is, do we want to spend $1 billion to keep it like it is and live with negative health outcomes and live with the noise and live with the highway that divides our city? Do we want to spend $4 to $5 billion on a tunnel that makes it pretty for 3/4 of a mile, but pretty much leaves the rest of the corridor the same? Or do we want to do something that is more visionary, that actually thinks about the long-term economic and vitality and health of our city, and we put a park back, we fill it in, and we reinvigorate our commercial corridors? That, for me, represents the greatest promise for the east side. It also dismantles a physical barrier that currently divides our city. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
So you live on the east side. How often do you go in the stores on the east side?
All the time.
Okay, so what, if you're elected, what are you gonna do about making sure that the stores are accessible to people with disabilities? Not only that, there's the cultures who own the stores, going to our supermarkets, buying up the products, raising the prices where a lot of people in our community are people with disabilities who can barely afford it.
Right.
Like $5, $6 for a gallon of milk that we can get from Walmart for $2 and change. It's ridiculous.
Or $6 to $7 for a dozen eggs.
Not only that is that it's businesses opening up who don't hire people with disabilities. You got supermarkets popping up who don't cater to the entire neighborhood, and they don't hire people with disabilities. They're not always accessible, and then even the housing. We need more housing that's accessible to people with disabilities. So if you're elected, what are you gonna do?
That was about 6 questions.
Yeah.
We're gonna pick them up. I want to tell you a little story first, because it gets to the point of what I'm talking about. I started Buffalo Reuse, and we had a whole team of architects here. And I was taking them around and sharing them with our model for how we were recycling houses. Walked them through our store, and maybe if you watch television, you remember the Extreme Makeover Home Edition that took place in Buffalo. I took that house down with 100 volunteers, and we did it in 14 hours. They came to me and said, we want to save a few things. I was like, no. We're going to take down the whole house, and we're going to save everything. And we did, right? But I took the architects around the east side, and they were there, and somebody asked me a question. They said, if you were successful in doing the work that you feel needs to be done on the east side, and you woke up one day, what would be the first thing that you would notice that would be different? That you would know, holy cow, we got it done. We succeeded. And what I said was, in the middle of the winter, people would be able to walk safely on the sidewalks. If you live on the east side of Buffalo, and a lot of our communities, but particularly on the east side, where the city owns 7,000 to 8,000 of the vacant lots, and you have a disability, or even if you don't, maybe you're just elderly, maybe you're a kid that needs to get to the bus stop, and there's snow. Guess what? You're trudging through snow to be on the sidewalk, because you may have to remove your snow, right? And if you don't remove it, the city tickets you. But then the next 6 lots are vacant lots that are supposed to be managed by the city. For me, that is a condition that has always been unacceptable. So last winter, I bought a little John Deere lawnmower with a small plow on it, and I went out to pilot an effort that I think would be transformative, particularly for the disability community, to get around town. Because right now in the winter, if you're elderly, if you have any kind of disability, if you're a young person trying to get to the bus stop, and you want to get there safely, where do you walk? In the street. In the street. That is not how we communicate to our neighbors that we respect you, that you are a human being that has dignity, where that we care for you. All right, that is the first pillar of my platform, and I'll talk to you about the basket, is creating a culture of care. We communicate that by how we take care of each other. Now, I'm going to share with you that I think that there are a lot of businesses that are reticent about hiring someone with a disability because they just don't understand what that means, right? It's fear. I think it's fear. They're like, oh, they're not going to be efficient enough, or they're not going to be fast enough, or they're not going to be able to do the job well, or it's going to be a burden on me as a business owner. Not necessarily because they're shunning disability. They just don't have the experience or the exposure or the education. So what I'm inspired by tonight is the work of this organization, right? 160 staff, you said? 160 staff that we can leverage. Not to mention people that are in your community that we can leverage to educate and teach business owners, right? To eliminate the fear of the unknown. Because the only time a lot of people interact with someone with a disability is maybe at Wegmans, right? Or they see them on the street and there's pity and there's shame, or there's, stigma, or there's and that. And people draw their own conclusions because they don't understand. So my role as a leader, right, is to lean on the efforts of great organizations to help promote greater understanding, right? To educate our community. And if there's understanding and there's education, it takes the fear out of the equation. And then somebody might be more willing to entertain that application or think about someone that's blind working in their store, or someone that has a physical disability. All of those things come about because of understanding. Now, when you get down to accessibility in our stores, right? And you heard about the Mandela Market incident, right? Right? Everybody heard about that, right? What that shined a light on was a lack of diligence as it relates to our inspection services. Because not the fact, the woman was treated inhumanely, right? That's one part of the issue. The other part of the issue is that store shouldn't have been operating without proper licenses, without proper, permits, without proper accessibility. So when I come in there as Mr. Inspector and I'm looking around, the questions I'm asking are, is this a safe place? Is this an accessible place? Can people get out if there's a fire? Is it clean? Is it equipped to deal with customers? Is it equipped to deal with people that might be disabled? All of those fall under the purview of the inspections department. Well, I'll tell you, this inspections department's burdened. So the question is, how do we get more boots on the ground to make sure these inspections happen and that we're rigorous about them to make sure that our communities are safe? Got lots of ideas about that. Okay, one of them is, because we've also heard about lead, and we also heard about, inhumane housing, right? Unsuitable housing for people to live with care and dignity in our communities. So there are a bunch of people that are hurt in the line of duty in our fire department. Okay, they're still getting a salary. They are disabled. They may be permanent or temporarily disabled because they were injured, and maybe they're going through recovery, maybe they're going through therapy. I believe we can cross-train those individuals to do quality of life inspections, right? I could train anybody in this room. I'm a builder too. I run a small business, we do construction, we do demolition. I could train everybody in this room in about an hour and a half how to go into a house and determine if it's livable or not livable. Yep. Maybe you have electrical wires hanging from the wire. Maybe there's holes in the floor, right? Maybe, there's broken windows, all right? You have a little checklist. Not livable, livable. Easy. If it falls in the non-livable category, or they walk into a store and they realize that there aren't the licenses there in place, then they hand it over to the inspector. And those inspectors then go and they do the real nitty-gritty inspection. So The idea is to be more creative about thinking about how to use the staff we currently have in the city to do more. Okay? And I believe that we can find those opportunities. There's also departments that are overstaffed, and then there's departments that are overburdened. And we need to bring more parity and equity to those departments to make sure the work that needs to be done to ensure dignity and livability is getting done. Next question.
Okay, so what's in the basket? Come on.
Okay, sorry. So I have a volunteer, and she's a lovely, lovely woman, and she was like, Michael, all I want to do is bake and bake and bake.
Thank you.
Right? So everywhere that we've been going, we take a little care package. Last night we were at the Jam Block Club, and my daughter was there, and she handed out cookies to all of the folks that came there. And she even gave one to Sean Ryan, our current state senator, which I thought was quite a hoot. But Jane has been baking, and it fits into what I talk about all the time, which is that culture of care. How do we take care of each other? You know, I was on Channel 4 this morning, and they were talking about a young woman that was murdered pretty violently 2 years ago by her partner, right? And they were talking about response times for the police, right? And they talked about a whole bunch of other things, but I'll bet you know of people that are in crisis on your street. I'll bet you all know a young person that needs a mentor on your street. And we've been conditioned in this culture to kind of mind our own business, right? Do your own thing. Take care of yourself. And what we need to do is bring back those core values of community care, where we look after one another, where we call out that young kid that's riding his bicycle down the street without a helmet, where we ask that teenager, shouldn't you be in school right now? Where we take ownership for our communities. If I'm elected as your mayor, I can't be everywhere. But what I can do is inspire each person on every street to get involved and helping to support one another. And maybe you don't have the skills or the confidence or the courage to walk up to a stranger, but you do have a phone. Making a referral, reaching out to a neighbor, helping them to get resources, dropping a flyer in their mailbox for where somebody can get crisis support or just a safe space for somebody that's struggling with domestic violence. These little things can be done in the shadows as we build more courage to go out and take care of one another. So I have some flyers, but I also have some cookies. Because for me, it's a metaphor. And it is just a token of the care that I have for people that I don't even know. And if we then take that lesson and we share it with the people in our communities, our families, our organizations, our block clubs, then we each day contribute to the revitalization and the care of our city. So I thank you all for being here tonight. I'm happy. What time is it?
It's 5:37.
Oh, I'm gonna stick around for a few more minutes. Does anybody have a peanut allergy? Okay, good. Because there might be some that have peanuts in here, but I got some flyers here, and I want you to I want to remind you of one last thing. There are 2 people in this race. There are actually 3 in the mayoral race. There's a current state senator, all right, I already mentioned his name. There is a gardener, and then there's a gainer, okay? And I want you to remember the gainer, because it's a no-brainer, okay? And if you can remember that, then let me tell you, we're gonna create a culture of care at City Hall. We're gonna have local mayoral districts in 3 different areas of the city so that our office is accessible to people, so people have a voice, so people can ask for help when they need it, so that we are taking care of people every day. That's my commitment to you. And if you don't like the cookies, take them and share them with someone. Meet somebody on your street. Thank you so much, everyone. If you don't like the cookies, give them to me.
He's not kidding.
And I'm on social media, Michael Gator for Mayor. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not gonna lay them all out here.
Today for our friends on the internet, we thank you all for coming.
I would love that. Be a pleasure.
Record.